and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I was just kind of planning on working the event. I was thinking I'd show up in like a waiter outfit, you know, and then not actually working it, but like sort of a James Bond type of way of sneaking into a party. Grab a serving tray, sneak around, tear off my fake mustache, and then just pretend I belong.
No, you'll be Daniel LaRussa in Karate Kid. You'll have the spaghetti spilled all over you and everything. You'll show up, you'll try to get away, and then somebody will kick your butt. And then you'll star in Cobra Kai later on.
Maybe this is the time to sort of float out the idea of me needing to just keep a running list of all of the movies that you referenced that I haven't seen, and then I need to watch them and then report back on them on the show at some point.
Really?
Do you want me to write down Karate Kid? I've seen the Jaden Smith one. You mean the Jaden Smith one?
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I read a Wednesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you. A lot of stuff to get into today. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us. 913-912-4810. Text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. We will talk with Jeff Montgomery, Valley Sports Royals Hall of Famer, coming up at 11 o'clock. We will discuss the Royals and the loss last night in what turned out to be grasping defeat from the jaws of victory. And that's unfortunate because I really wanted to come in today and say, okay, 5-5 over the last 10 games. Does that start to mean something since we said, you know, they were 4-4 and then, 4-5 and then they won the game last night at 5-5 over the last 10 games. Does that start to mean something? And really, the game last night doesn't change one way or another whether somebody who's reliable, like a Scott Barlow, gets another out or two or not. It's a loss. So they're 4-6 in the last 10 games since breaking that 10-game losing streak. So, they're 4-16. It's whatever cutoff you want to go to. I like to look at the cutoff of 22-57 in their last 79 games.
That's an odd sample size.
Isn't it?
And not that small of one.
You know what? They're 22-56 in the last 78 games.
See, that's right there. That framing is important.
Much better. So we'll talk with Jeff Montgomery about that. Austin Cox going to the mound tonight. There is something at least to be excited about. If you're looking for anything to be excited about, Brady Singer's start last night, there was a positive step in the right direction. And if Austin Cox can then continue close to what he's been doing, impossible for him to continue what he's been doing and, not ever give up a run. But somewhere near the confidence that he's pitching with right now. And so we'll see what he looks like tonight as the Royals try to get back on the winning track. I'll also talk with Monty about, Zach Greinke, the comments that we heard. And then, Scott Barlow, as we just mentioned, a guy that is not throwing his fastball. Last two outings for Scott Barlow, 47 pitches. He's thrown 44 sliders and curves, 3 fastballs out of the last 47 pitches, last two outings. And last night he threw 2 out of 30. And when that happens, Monty and Joel were talking about in the postgame of the Guardians were just sitting on breaking stuff, And Naylor, has the bloop hit to right field off the end of the bat. But I think Monty said it last night on the broadcast that, if you have to worry about a fastball, you're probably not swinging that way to be able to get the bat out, even to get the end of the bat on it to put it into, drop it into right field, just that extra worry. But they were just sitting on breaking pitch, and he was able to adjust and know that that was going to be a curve/slider to get his bat down. If he's been throwing a fastball too, all of a sudden he might swing over the top of that. But that's something Scott Barlow's going to have to work through, just as Brady Singer was working through the inability to control his two-seam fastball. And the first couple of innings last night was the same thing. Then somehow he found it, which, hey, you know what? Maybe that maybe that's the step that Brady Singer's been looking for, and he ends the game. And his last pitch was the first time in a while that I've seen him throw that two-seamer at the right hip of the left-handed batter that then works back to a strike. That was Josh Bell with 2 strikes. Threw it at his hip. Bell scooted back. Boom, right over the inside part of the plate. Strike 3. Brady Singer walks off the mound. It's like, oh, there it is. That's the thing that he had his 2 ERA last year of his last 15 starts or so. That was the thing that he did all the time, and just throw it right at the hip of the left-handers and have it work back for a strike. And he hadn't had that really much, if at all, this year, for one reason or another. Maybe he found that late in the game, and that's something to build upon. We'll see. But Jeff Montgomery comes up at 11 o'clock. We'll hang out with Mick Schaefer in the 1 o'clock hour, KSHB 41 sports director, and we will do an update on the ZOUs.
Oh.
Either today or Friday. I think today. I think we'll do the updates on the ZOUs today.
Feeling pretty good about a handful of unders.
Well, you shouldn't be. Or maybe you should. I don't know. I'm not going to give it away. I have no idea.
I was in an okay spot at the quarter mark, but I don't know where we're going to land now.
Yep, we'll find out. We'll see who's going to be buying lunch for the group. If that's going to be Beards, probably me, you, or Mick.
Okay.
This is the pattern we get into.
Optimism catches another one.
I buy lunch on Royals ZOUs, and I eat free lunch on Chiefs ZOUs.
Yeah.
Because typically being more positive on the Chiefs results in you not losing. You don't have to win. You just can't. You don't have to be the fastest swimmer from the shark. You just can't be the slowest.
Exactly.
Okay? So you don't have to win. You just can't be dead last. Typically, I'm buying lunch with Royals because I'm a little too optimistic. And on the Chiefs, never had to worry about it. Never had to worry about it because, again, probably too optimistic. But it's okay to be a little too optimistic with the Chiefs because, when Vegas sets, Mahomes passing touchdowns at 31.5, yeah, I'll be optimistic and say over. I'll be fine with doing that. So
I just
we'll get into that.
choose to be right about everything, and so that's worked out really well for me.
You'll buy lunch soon.
I probably will.
Now I really need the Royals to turn this around.
I think those, 75, 76 wins? They're coming.
Now I need them to turn it around. Not the first 79, 80, 81 games of the season, but now after that comment. Text says 913-912-4810 says if you take out all the losses, they're undefeated. Yeah, they are 22-0 in the games that they've scored more runs than their opponent.
That's a great point.
Yep. So there you go.
22-0 just in games they've won, I think, is a really nice way of thinking about it.
Text says, after last night, I'm starting to think they're not going to turn it around this year.
In games where they've been ahead after 9 innings, they're 22-0.
Yeah, in games they are leading after 9 innings, they have not lost a game.
Tied in the 9th has not been that kind of them.
No.
So I got to figure out what to put
just
that
like Patrick Mahomes has never lost an AFC Championship game in regulation.
Wow, yeah, I like that one.
He's never lost a championship game in regulation. Patrick Mahomes has never been trailing in an AFC Championship game after 4 quarters.
The Royals haven't lost a game this year where they've scored more than 10 runs.
See? Just score 10 runs a game.
11.
Score 11 runs a game.
They lost 12-10 that game to Washington. But
so they have lost a game in which they scored 10 runs.
They haven't lost a game where they scored more than 10 runs.
Not 10 or more. More than 10 runs. Okay.
More than 10.
Score 10, you're effed.
They've actually lost.
Score 11, you are awesome.
They've actually lost twice while scoring 10 runs. And won one. Score 10-1.
Let me guess. Lyles was on the mound in one.
That actually
one of those two
probably.
starts.
Roldis Chapman got the loss against Baltimore.
They are. If you take away all of the
Jordan Lyles in 12-10, they were in Washington.
Yeah. If you take away all of the Jordan Lyles games, they are 21 and 41.
Well, that's just. Yeah, we got to was 15 the streak.
15 was the streak. Yeah. So 21 and 42.
42 now.
Now they're wow. Okay, so
you know what? I'm not going to let that one win go. I reject your offer. 22 and 57 it is.
I stand by my offer. 913-912-4810. That's how the show lines up today. John Sherman will talk tomorrow morning, so I want to get in a little bit of what we expect to hear from him. Chiefs offensive line. I think we should probably have an offensive line conversation about maybe like X Factor or something like that.
I'll see if I can find like a fun audio clip. See like Mina Kimes or anybody's talked about that.
That'd be great. Deneric Prince showed up in yet another story about off-season surprises. So Deneric Prince is this year's Justin Ross. So Deneric Ross or Justin Prince.
I think I like Justin Prince. I think Justin Prince sounds like somebody you draft late in fantasy, and you'd really be happy about that.
Deneric Ross sounds like you misspoke and meant to say generic Ross.
Yeah, it sounds too generic.
It's like generic Ross. Sorry, generic or generic? It's Ross. You know, I don't know.
Justin Prince sounds like a front man.
Yeah, that's right.
I think there's some star power there.
Yes, that's right. Justin Prince, the lead singer for Yards After Contact X Factor. It's a terrible band name.
Yards After Contact, though, is pretty good.
Yeah, the X Factor, I went a little too far, didn't I? So did he.
That's pretty good. It's the Superfan Slammers.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Superfan Slammer. I'll keep working on it.
CBS also has their top 25 under 25 NFL players. Cody Benjamin put that out. And I'll tell you, Creed Humphrey showed up on there. Mm-hmm. He's the only Chief to show up. Creed Humphrey, number 11 out of the top 25 players under 25. You have to be 25. You cannot turn 26 before the start of the season. So when the season starts, the first game of the season, you have to still be 25.
Okay.
So that's the rule. So there are some guys that are 25 right now that you're like, how did he not show up on the... Well, he's going to turn 25 in like a month. So he'll be 26 when the season starts. Those are the that's really the only stipulation, and no rookies.
Happy birthday, Creed Humphrey, by the way.
There you go. What
24 today.
Oh wow! So he can be in this next year.
Yeah,
he can.
He does. You'd have a whole year of eligibility.
Yeah, that's cool. No rookies and nobody that turns 26 before the start of the season.
Okay.
Those
Still
are
a pretty big group.
Yes. So he was number 11 out of the top 25. But there's a bigger takeaway that I want to have and relate it to the Chiefs outside of Creed Humphrey being number 11 and Nick Bolton being an honorable mention. Those are the Chiefs that showed up. Nick Bolton, honorable mention of linebackers, and Creed Humphrey, number 11, and the only center. Shocking. There's only one center in the top 25 under 25 of all players. It is also, I'll be honest, it's surprising that there is a center that showed up. That they looked at a center under 25 or under 26 that was good enough to show up in the top 25 players in the NFL. That you say, no, Creed Humphrey, not only we put him at number 25 because we felt like, he's that good. It's a center, whatever. No, he's number 11. Right, he's number 11. And that's the second highest offensive lineman overall. Tristan Wirfs came in at number 9, then Creed Humphrey at number 11. And then later on, Rashawn Slater and Penei Sewell and guys like that. So something to think about there.
Yeah.
But there's a bigger takeaway of that list that I find to be fascinating that I want to relate to the Chiefs.
Okay.
Let's start with the Royals because that's what people are clamoring for. They want more. The one thing I've heard, especially on the text line, is why don't you guys talk more K-State and Royals?
Please talk Royals.
So let's do both.
Whole Twitter timeline.
Let's do both, K-State and Royals. Will Brennan last night gets the game-winning hit for the Guardians.
What a jerk.
The K-Stater, the Blue Valley High School player, returns to Kaufman for his first game ever at Kaufman. You know what? Good for him. I root for the local players, and good for Brennan to come through there. And it does become a little annoying as sort of we look through and talk about what the Royals do and don't do. And when the Royals made an emphasis in the Dayton Moore regime of we are going to scout our backyard and scout our backyard, we will scout our backyard. Backyard scouting is what we're going to be doing. And you know what? If you look out your back window, we're scouting that area, okay? Because that's your backyard. Even if you don't have a yard, we're still going to scout it because we're not going to have Albert Pujols happen around here. No, sir. Not going to happen, okay? So we're going to get Bubba Starling and we're going to do some of the – we're going to draft Ben Kudrna. We're going to draft Carter Jensen. Great. Do those things. Will Brennan went in the 8th round. To the Guardians in the 2019 Major League Baseball draft. And if you are, wondering, the Royals, by the way, had a pretty decent draft. So this is not the Royals drafted nobody in 2019 and Will Brennan comes up. Bobby Witt was the number 2 overall pick. Michael Massey was in the 4th round. Vinny Pasquantino was an 11th rounder. So, they found some guys. Mm-hmm. We'll see what Alec Martian's up doing, things like that. In the 8th round, they took Drew Parrish. In the 7th round, they took Noah Murdoch. In the 6th round, they took Dante Biasi. In the 5th round, they took John Rave. He was in the news that he got a promotion to AAA. There's that guy.
Best name of the group, I think, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Dante Biasi's pretty good.
No, that's true.
Dante Biasi's pretty badass.
And no shade to Vinny Pasquantino.
Yeah, I know.
Bobby Witt's a good baseball
Right,
name.
yes. 3rd round, they took Grant Gambrell. Not sure. The thing that I find to be a little frustrating is, look, you're not going to get everyone right. But it's if he was from Oregon and he went to Washington State, I wouldn't care about Will Brennan and what he did last night and coming through with the big hit and batting like 400 in the month of June. Wouldn't care. But see if you find a theme here when you know that he played at K-State and he's in your backyard. Okay, so Bobby Witt, high school. Mm-hmm. Then I'm just going to go through the next picks, not even 2nd, 3rd, whatever. Just know these are the next picks. University of Florida, Arizona State, Oregon State, University of Illinois, Illinois State, Penn State, Virginia, Florida State, Indiana State, Coastal Carolina, Old Dominion, University of Evansville, Alabama, California, University of Houston, University of Vanderbilt, University of Southern USC, Central Arkansas. Those are the next picks after Bobby Witt. It wasn't like they weren't looking at college players.
I believe all I heard there were college players.
Right. And you know what? They got a couple right. Vinny Pasquantino, Michael Massey. They were throwing numbers at it.
Sure.
They were throwing. Right. And you know what? And I'm good with that. If you want to say in a draft, we're going to take the 3rd round to the 15th round, and we're going to take college hitters or college pitchers. We're going to throw numbers. And if we find 2 of them, hell yeah, we found 2 of them. And they did find 2. At least that can contribute to a big league club. Michael Massey, hopefully he's back soon. He took BP yesterday out at Kauffman before the game. And Vinny Pasquantino, we know, unfortunately, he's done for the year. I believe yesterday or today was the anniversary of Vinny Pasquantino getting called up. Yesterday was the anniversary of Santana being traded. He was traded on June 27th last year, and that then coincided with Pasquantino being called up. Okay. And I don't know if his debut was 27, 28. Doesn't matter. But so they got a couple of guys right. And if the Royals were winning, it wouldn't matter. Right. It wouldn't matter. It'd be like, you know what, great story for Will Brennan. But the Royals won 5-2, and they're in first place. And I'd be cool if he was on the team or whatever. But look what all they've done and these different things. But it becomes frustrating when it's backyard, backyard, backyard. This guy's in your backyard. He played at Blue Valley, your backyard. Played at Kansas State, backyard. Batted .370 his senior year. Like he wasn't some scrub that somehow figured it out and found it along the way. He did go in the 8th round, so he wasn't a can't-miss guy. But, you took a number of guys that, didn't make it along the way. And he plays outfield, which is pretty good. So a little frustrating on that, a little frustrating. Just something else. You know what we're doing? We're trying to find things. It's been so good for the Royals. We're just trying to find things to be frustrated with because you just can't be here in Pollyanna every single game and like, oh, the Royals won again. They're so good. Like it's tough during Chiefs season. If you say anything negative about the Chiefs, it's like, yeah, but they're undefeated. I know they are. This is awesome. They've won a couple Super Bowls. I don't want to be negative, but we do need to point out the fact that Sky Moore keeps dropping the punts.
Yeah, it's like, that could come back and be relevant.
And you know what? It was because he had one hell of a punt return against the Bengals.
Yeah.
It came back and it was relevant. It was. And everybody had said, shut up. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. It's not going to matter. To hell with you because maybe you turned out to be right. But still, along the way, you didn't know for a fact. But no, and all joking aside, I don't know what level of frustration that's there with that. It's just sort of a note. It's a nugget that's just like this guy's playing well for the Guardians and coming up and right here, Blue Valley kid, man.
I obviously watching them last night, talking about the local side of it. Everything's that's cool. It did not. At no point did that ever connect with the synapse of my brain that remembers Dayton Moore saying "scouting the backyard" 500 times as it did with you. And this is just a different flavor of something that just kind of bothered me as the game went on, and even more in retrospect because now I know how it ended. But I learned about Gavin Williams yesterday. Mm-hmm. Now he was a first round pick in 2021. with 23rd overall, so he was not. It was well after the Royals took Frank Mazzucato. This is not about Frank Mazzucato at all. This is just about Gavin Williams.
It can be.
It can be, but like I'm not trying to make it about him right now.
Okay, great.
But also, remember Kumar Rocker and I remember that being wild.
I remember
that was crazy.
That was awful.
But I learned about Gavin Williams yesterday as I was looking to see who the starters were going to be for the game last night. Went back. Oh, he made his debut one start prior and pitched really, really well. He's out 2 starts in. He's looked great, and I'm not saying that he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and the Royals have drafted him. I'm just saying it feels like it's been a really long bleeping time since the Royals have had some sort of equivalent to that. And now, like, Austin Cox came up and started making records in a opening, stretch out, see where he lands role that does make tonight more interesting. But if it is, to the conversation we were having yesterday, if it is the picks you're making, or if it's the way you're developing them, or it's the headspace they're in when they reach the major league level, it's believing that they're going to get run support even when they haven't seen it yet, whatever it may be, that to me was frustrating without being anyone's fault in particular, because that whole game felt simultaneously competent and incompetent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a low-scoring game can be that.
Defensively and on the mound with Brady Singer, they were turning double plays. Michael Garcia can freaking pick it. The Bobby Witt error notwithstanding.
That's absolutely right.
Yes.
That is the thing. I had been talking to my brother yesterday, who is simultaneously, oh man, I got a great Easter egg for you on this one. Simultaneously has started to try to save the Royals in MLB The Show.
Oh, nice. Good for him.
And he was going through it. He was talking, he's playing on hard difficulty, so the stats are really relevant, he was explaining. And he was like, man, yeah, it's just like really, really bleak here. I do think, though, there's one guy I could call up here now who's been pitching really well in the minors that I think might be useful. Asa Lacy?
Yes.
Oh, Caleb. Oh, we've been talking about Asa Lacy.
Yeah, there's
he
nothing
might
wrong
pitch
with-
at some point.
There's nothing wrong with throwing another S in his name.
And there's nothing wrong with throwing him in your rotation when his digital back isn't hurt, right? I mean, that's where he's looking right now for the hope of it all.
He's actually got a 6-bit bat.
Yeah,
back.
he does. He does. It's really
the amazing graphics in his back is 6-bit. Sorry, guys.
The face, the arms, the hands, the features. It's just 4 pixels back there for his delts. But like even going through that, I was tickled that I've now talked about Asa Lacy now 3 consecutive days,
you.
I guess.
We'll try to sneak in more asses.
We could. This show's very assy usually, but like going through that process and even going and that conversation that we have had here and that I got to have with him. It's not just the little league defense that bothers me, like just beyond no end. Until the Bobby Witt issue, it was at least nice to watch the Royals and to say, hey, Brady Singer has found some command here. He looks like at least like lowercase Brady Singer, if not all caps Brady Singer. You're seeing good, competent defense, and then the Royals at bats don't take very long. It's
Great.
It's a pretty good game. You'd love to see some runs score, and then it explodes at the end. It's just sad.
2 nuggets as we take a break. You talked about Gavin Williams and Mazzucato. Gavin Williams up with the big league club with the Guardians. Mazzucato on the IL running into his teammate. Mazzucato went 7th. Number 9 was Sam Bachman by the Angels. He's up with the big league club. He's a starter, but he's pitching out of the bullpen. He's got a 2 ERA. Matt McClain, 17th pick, is up with the Reds. Sal Frelick is about to come up with the Brewers, and he's been pretty awesome down in the minor leagues.
And just not to get too nitpicky, again,
Chase
Kumar
Petty,
Rocker goes 10.
Jackson Merrill.
Not that he was ever really in the mix for the Royals.
For sure,
but
absolutely. But, just as we see some other guys that may make their way up from that 2019 or 2021 draft. And Mazzucato's looked good.
Yeah.
Until he, got hurt. But he's looked good. Last one is a positive as we head to a break. Bobby Witt, crazy like a fox. Because if Bobby Witt doesn't commit that error, Brady Singer doesn't face Josh Bell and throw that 2-seamer at his hip as the last pitch of his outing and walks off the mound, is like, oh, wait, there it is. There's the pitch that's been missing for about a month and a half. Bobby Witt was like, no. You keep your ass up on that mound, Brady. All right? You stay up on that mound. You and your massive quads, you stay up there and you throw to one more batter, and I want you to throw this frickin' ball right at his hip and work it back. You do that, okay?
Real hoopers.
Or I'm going to commit another error.
Real hoopers will not walk away off a miss, right? You cannot. The last ball that leaves your hand cannot be a miss.
You don't end on a miss.
Can't do it. Bobby Witt was at the same. No, you are going to get on Pitching Ninja. You just wait. I am going to just slap balls into the dirt with my glove until I see some nasty stuff.
Weak ground ball, not having it. I need you to throw a front hip sinker at this guy and walk off the field. Well done, Bobby Witt. Well done. We'll talk about John Sherman. His press conference comes up tomorrow morning, so when we're on the air, we'll have heard from John Sherman. What do we want to hear? What do we think we'll hear? What do we expect to hear from John Sherman coming up tomorrow? More Zone right after this.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
why I wasn't first.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels hanging out on a Wednesday until 2 o'clock. We'll talk with Jeff Montgomery coming up at 11 o'clock. Tomorrow, John Sherman will talk with the media around 9:30 or so in the morning. And apparently everything is on the table, which is good because it damn sure better be. You're not going to have a press conference tomorrow and then say, I'm sorry, we're actually not going to talk about that. Like nothing personal. Like, hey, what do you think about? We're not going to talk about that. Okay, cool. But stadium, ballot, financing, big league squad, minor leagues, draft, etc. All of that's going to be talked about and should be talked about this offseason, this upcoming offseason, and changes that could and probably should be made. Is there an investment that'll come with the overall organization where J.J. Piccolo's talking about some changes that'll be made, that they focused last year on the big league coaches and everything, that this next offseason, yeah, there's some things that they got to do. Is John Sherman going to invest more into more coaches and development, things like that? But he'll be talking tomorrow. So the question I would have is, what do we expect to hear? What do we want to hear from John Sherman? I know there's a lot of conversation about the stadium right now. And I think a decent portion of tomorrow's press conference will be about the stadium. And I do want to hear about the stadium and where they're at and all of that stuff. But the stadium's down the road a little bit. The first thing that I'm wanting to hear from John Sherman is about the big league club, is about where it's at, where he expects it to be, money that could be spent, eating salary if need be, taking on salary if that means something. If a team's like, well, yeah, we want to trade for this guy, but we'd also like to dump some salary here, and this prospect will be higher in level if you take on this salary of this player that we think is crap, and we just want it off our books. So if you're the Twins or the Guardians or, you know, another team that's out there that's small market, that's got a team that's an albatross of a contract right now that's not playing, a Hunter Dozier on their team, that it's like, we just want to get rid of this contract. You take it on. You can DFA him, and we'll give you an extra, you know, a higher level. We'll give you our number one prospect if you're willing to do this. Like, I don't know if that's, you know, something that would even be a part of a conversation in trades, but is that even something on the table? Because your payroll is very, very small. What are the offseason plans? Last year, there was a mulligan isn't the right word. There was a one-year reprieve to a degree given because it was a new regime. Mm-hmm. You got rid of Dayton Moore. You got rid of Mike Matheny and Cal Eldred, and the natives were restless, and they were happy with giving them that, you know, pound of flesh there and using some of those guys as a meat shield in front of, you know, some of the other issues that are going on with the organization. You hired J.J. Piccolo. That was last year, but you moved J.J. Piccolo into a GM role, but Dayton Moore was still president, baseball operations, and, you know, hey, Dayton, is it cool if we do this? You know, that was part of the thought process. But so there was a one-year reprieve on you're not going out and really spending money, whether they should or not. I mean, look at the Mets spent a boatload of money this offseason, and they suck. Not as bad as the Royals, but dollar for dollar, they suck worse than the Royals. For them. So just spending money does not alleviate the issues. But last year, you said, when the time is right, we are perfectly willing to spend some money. How close is right to you? And are you willing to invest more this offseason when you have a better idea this year of what you have, what you don't have? We can't spend, this was J.J. Piccolo and Judge, we can't spend money when we don't even know what we have and what we need. Okay, that's what this year is. At the end of this year, you'd better have a decent idea of what you have and what you need. And if there are things that you need, are you willing to go out and spend some money on that? Or is your sole focus just about saving money and then using it on a ballpark and different things from that standpoint? I want to hear about the big league club. I want to hear about the moves and the plans and
the minors, and when J.J. Picola makes moves, are you hiring extra coaches? Are you hiring extra, roving instructors, things like that? Investing even more, investing more in Latin America, and just doing a number of different things that you can invest in the organization in development, because I have no faith in the development part, which gives me no faith in the draft part. And he'll be talking a week and a half before the Major League Baseball draft. That's the first thing I want to hear and expect to hear.
I think the first thing I expect to hear will be predominantly the stadium stuff, and in part, and I think it's what I am most interested in hearing, in part because when you're asked about future plans for the payroll and the team team structure and all of that, the easiest thing to do is lie. And I don't even mean it in a sense where
you're not wrong,
where he's going to end up, just out here just actively deceiving everyone in the media. And, oh, no, we're going to elevate payroll in 2 years and before slashing. That's not what I'm saying.
They can't see under the table where my fingers are crossed.
Exactly.
These fools.
I don't think it's a long con. But if you say, hey, so when would you be ready to consider taking on payroll if it brought in a prospect? I think it's well, we'd certainly consider that anyway to make the team better and blah, blah, blah.
Everything's on the table.
Right. And so that's I will be very interested to hear how specific he gets with some of that stuff.
But he would have to go on record with some of those things.
Yeah.
And as an owner, when you go on record and then you don't follow through, it makes it less likely of fans being cool with what you really want to get done, which is then the stadium part.
And so I think that he could come out and he could say, hey, this year's been disappointing. We think we have the right people in charge, but we knew this was going to be pulling teeth, and we're about halfway through the mouth right now, and we are there are a few molars in there here taking a while still. So that's sort of what I expect from on the field. It was interesting in terms of the stadium. This is going to sound really basic compared to even the conversations we've had on the show about the stadium. But just a few days ago, Quentin Lucas says, here are the things that need to be shared with the citizens of Kansas City. And in my view today, Lucas said, this was again earlier in the week, I believe, or late last week. Why the need for a move? What's the plan for perhaps wherever they're going? And what's the funding idea? Mm-hmm. Man, we are still at 3 really basic questions there, which is prove to me that you need this. Tell us where you think this would be a good idea, and let us know where you're headed and how much of our help you're going to need. And the fact that the Royals haven't given answers on that when it is and has been a foregone conclusion for a long time now that they will be moving somewhere is pretty wild. So there is still I don't know how far the listening tour ever made it. I don't know how much they've heard. I don't know how many hard questions they've been asked. But I would like to see a few things addressed with a little bit of certainty in terms of the stadium questions.
When he talks about where to, like, where are you heading? Okay, so the whole why do you need to leave Kauffman? He's going to say, well, it's going to cost, $1 billion to renovate Kauffman. And then the follow-up's going to be from the media there of how? How do you come to that number?
Right.
What's you talk about transparency. Be transparent as to how it's $1 billion. Explain. Because when I walk around Kauffman, I know there are some issues that are there of people that I've talked to. But when I walk around Kauffman Stadium, it looks like a pretty beautiful ballpark.
Yep.
But I do know the bowels, the underling, there are some issues. There are some issues in the clubhouse. There are some issues with plumbing. There are some issues with the concrete cancer that they talked about.
Just show your work.
So right, but how do you get to $1 billion to say that the renovation for Kauffman's going to be $1 billion? Okay, so that's part of it. But so the where to me is going to be fascinating, because one of the things we've talked about that was probably a mistake by John Sherman was saying Kansas is no longer being talked about. It's Missouri. And then all of a sudden Clay County came in there, and it's like, oh, wait, is Clay County just a negotiating tactic? Is it a negotiating ploy? Well, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you trying to get the best deal from whatever city or county you're going to be going to. But if that was just the case of getting the best deal, then why did you take Kansas off the table?
Right.
If you could then use that as sort of a back and forth.
Either be married or date around. But it feels like it's been a little bit of both.
Yes. I wonder if tomorrow, does he say, well, we're actually looking at all options. So
oh my God.
Even the Kansas side.
Oh, can you imagine?
Because if he says that, then we are not really close.
No, we've snoozed at least 6 months.
Right. We are not close at all if he says we're looking at all options and if Kansas comes back into the conversation. But if he says, no, Kansas is still out, we're looking at, there are only a couple things we're close and decide, whatever it might be. if they stay with just there are two places of destination, which is what we heard in the Kansas City Star piece, that no, we're looking at two places. If John Sherman were to come out tomorrow and say, well, every place is open, like we're looking for the best place for the future and the stability of this organization moving forward, and we want this district, we want to have this space, we want to do some different things, and yes, we want to revitalize and help to do those things with downtown and areas that are underserved, and we want to take care of all of those things. So then why the holdup, why the hang up? Because when you eliminated Kansas, it felt like you were 2, 3, 4 steps down the road. That, okay, you know where you're, it's the East Village, just is East Village. That's where you're going. It's where you're moving to. Now all of a sudden Clay County comes in, and nothing wrong with Clay County. If they want to get it done, great. They can offer whatever they want to offer. And as long as the ballpark is in Kansas City, doesn't have to be Missouri, Kansas, in the area, obviously, then great. I'm going to go out to Royals games. I'm going to watch. If they stay and renovate Kaufman, I'm going to go to Royals games. I'm going to watch, as long as it's not in another city. So if that means they move to Clay, they moved downtown, they renovate Kaufman, they move to Kansas, whatever it might be. If it's in Kansas, I'll pay my share and still watch Royals baseball. I just want to know, are we still at the two sites? And if we're at the two sites, is there one that's the leader in the clubhouse? And why the disconnect between your side of it and what the county officials and those around Jackson County feel at the state, the local, and the
state,
county,
city, and county levels have all
state,
seemed confused.
County level are like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Why is that disconnect happening between your side and that? If you wanted to be transparent and you really thought that it was very aggressive, saying that, well, best possible scenario would be August to put something on the ballot. And the mistake there is when you say August, now people start thinking, wow, you're 15, 16 steps down the road of 25. Right. You guys are really trucking toward you guys clearly have a lot of stuff figured out. If you're thinking best possible scenario is August. Well, best possible scenario is August if you were able to be, Zach and Saved by the Bell and pause real time and everything else stops and you can move around. Yeah, if you pause time, maybe you can get to August if you can figure all these things out. I wonder how realistic April is for April of 2024 as opposed to August of 24, or I'm still on record as saying they want to avoid November because they want people showing up to vote for it, yes, rather than people showing up to vote in the general election and the president and going, whoa, taxes? No, I don't even know what that is, but I'm not. Royals, Kaufman's great. Why are they moving? I don't even know anything about it. I love Kaufman. Why would you move? You're going to move the Royals? Hell no. No. President, whatever. Royals moving to a different. No, they're great there. That's awesome. No, you don't want that. You don't want that. You want people to show up specifically because this is on the ballot. That's what you want. So, do you get it in April? Do you get it in August?
And you continue to lay out all of the different timeline hurdles that are here, and you beat me to it by about a syllable that everything in this process has been about speed. Like it, and I understand because when you're trying to start,
that's what speed do.
It apparently is what speed do. If John Sherman walks out to the presser tomorrow and does the little motorcycle hands, I'll change my tune. But if everything is about speed, and it's about speed because you're trying to start making more money as soon as possible, and you want this ballpark district and all the revenue that comes with it, so getting that moving sooner is good for your pocket. I get it. But if everything's about the quickness with which you could get this executed, anything that feels like a hiccup derails so much, and it takes away the opportunity to go out there tomorrow and be like, hey, you know what? We're reopening our search a little bit, because now that feels like a defeat. If they go out there and say, hey, actually, we spoke too soon, and, hey, Kansas, still technically single, if you're still interested. Like, oh, cool. Really coming from a place of power there. The one PR spin on that I think would be fascinating, and that I don't think is going to happen, but if Sherman comes out and says, all right, we have realized there's even more work to be done here. We also know the baseball team is not in a place where anybody wants to be spending their own money to help us get a new house to play in. So we're just going to go ahead and take this off the front burner for a little bit. We're still working on it. We're going to have some more updates 6 months, year down the road, but now you're talking about it being on the ballot maybe post 24 presidential election, and now everything is slowed down so much that I cannot imagine them having all of the vigor to get it done as quickly as they did up until this point, and now go, ooh, we might have bungled it. And now my fear is that you're bungling it by speeding through it too quickly, and you don't have either the votes or the public perception or the plan or the political acceptance of what your plan is, because no one really knows what it is. So there are so many baseline questions that have to be answered tomorrow.
Messaging for a new stadium and packaging the message is really, really important.
Yep.
Tomorrow's going to be interesting to hear from John Sherman tomorrow morning. You can hear that live on the Border Patrol. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
or home plate. And that happened last night. It's always an adventure. Like, it's like they had never held a baseball before. It's like, hold on, I didn't throw it. Wait a minute. Am I the I'm other hand? Whoops, I'm left-handed this whole time. I pitch right-handed, but now I'm about to throw to first. Am I left-handed? Am I supposed to punt this there? I don't even know what to do with this ball now. Jeff Montgomery next.
You're always better with a roof from JR.
We've all seen them. As soon as the big storm comes through, the
home equity line of credit from First Federal Bank of Kansas City. Get game day ready at ffbkc.com. Monty, how are you, sir?
Oh, doing pretty good today, Jason. I'm probably doing a little better if we played 8-inning games in Major League Baseball based on last night, but team's starting to play a little bit better, I think.
You know, why don't they? Why don't they play 8-inning games? It's ridiculous that they have to have that extra ninth game, or ninth inning. It's ridiculous. I really thought in the ninth inning that we were going to be talking about a Royals team that over the last 10 games is 5-5 and saying, are we looking at this team maybe turning some sort of a corner and learning how to win, even though they had that 10-game losing streak, and then they would have followed that with playing 500 baseball against teams like the Angels, Tigers, Rays, and Guardians. Instead, we're talking about a team that's 4-6 over the last 10, but it is a team that had lost 10 straight before this particular stretch. What are you seeing from this team? We always wonder, is it baseball finding its level? You win some, you lose some. This team can't be as bad as a 120-game pace, but essentially that's what they've been for most of the season. What are you seeing from this team in that essentially 500 ball over the last 10 games?
Yeah, probably just maybe some small steps in the right direction. I felt like the series against Tampa Bay was very meaningful. I thought they played well. They only split the series, but they were in all those games, and the fact that they played with the big boys, so to speak, I thought showed a lot. I think it was probably good for them confidence-wise, too, knowing that going into that series, here you're playing a team that's got the best record in baseball, and what are you going to do? You're going to be seeing some outstanding starting pitching on the other side, and how do you handle it? But they handled it quite well, and the fact that they split that series and had a chance actually to win 3 out of 4, I thought was maybe a good sign that things are moving in the right direction.
Brady Singer last night, he had a good outing. He lowered his ERA by a half run in last night's game. What did you see from him going the 6 innings, getting out of that small little jam there in the 6th after the error by Bobby Witt? But what did you take away from Brady Singer's outing last night?
Well, I thought it was solid. I thought he was much better the second half of his outing. I mean, he wasn't very pitch efficient early on. He was getting some outs, used his defense, got those ground ball double plays, and I thought that helped him a whole lot. I don't think he was still quite as sharp as I've seen him at times with that two-seam fastball, where it kind of throws it at the right hip of the left-handed batter, kind of locks them up, and they take it for a strike on the inside corner. Still haven't seen much of that. However, the last pitch he threw in that 6th inning to get out of that jam, that was exactly the pitch that we've seen so much of that's made him so effective. And I thought that was great the way he ended his outing and getting out of that jam, 2 guys on. That could have been a deciding plate appearance had he not got that out. 2 guys on based on the error from Witt Jr. And again, I just thought it was a real good step in the right direction for Brady Singer, even though he probably still has a little ways to go. I thought his changeup was maybe a little more effective than we've seen here lately. And I think the changeup will still be a key pitch for him. But he's always got that slider. I thought his slider, both the lefties and righties last night, he used it well. So, again, just a real positive outing for Brady Singer, and hopefully more to come.
What can that do for him as a guy who's been searching and trying to find it, and early in the game, he talked about that he didn't have it. Matt Quatrero said that the fastball command, the sinker, was not there early on in the game, and then he found it as the game went along. And that last pitch, I noted that as well, Monty, that the last pitch for Brady Singer was at the hip of Josh Bell that worked back inside and for a strike, and he took it and walked back to the dugout, and he got out of the jam. What can that do the last few innings for Brady Singer when he felt like he finally started to get command of that two-seam fastball and through that pitch that you and I have talked about a couple of times this year in watching Brady Singer throw, that we hadn't really seen that at least that's the lasting view as he walks off the mound is, okay, that's more familiar of what we've seen from Brady Singer.
Yeah, I think, one, just knowing that pitch is still there. I mean, sometimes you get a little concerned that whether it be the grip or the arm angle, whatever it might be, that you're getting away from your strength. And the fact that it's still there on the last pitch that he threw of the game, I felt like probably very much a confidence builder for him. You're always looking for building blocks and stepping stones and move in the right direction, and certainly he was in search of that and found it, I think, during the last 3 or 4 innings of his outing last night. But really, Brady Singer are kind of a lot like this entire team. You have some bright spots, and then you can't build on them. You can't continue it and take it through more of a short stretch. So I think Brady Singer needs to find a way to be more consistent, looking forward, as well as his team find ways to get some momentum and keep momentum. That's just the hardest thing for this team so far this year, is find a way to keep that momentum going once they get a little glimpse of some positives.
How difficult is it that Brady Singer talked about last night after the game in the clubhouse that in between starts he's just been working, trying to figure some things out, trying to get that command back, trying to get a better feel for the two seam and what they've been working on with Brian Sweeney, and then you go out there and you pitch and it's not great, and then you go back to work the next 4 days and try to figure out what's going on. How difficult is that for a pitcher, whether younger or not, that when you're just going through a slump and for whatever reason it's a half-inch landing with your front foot to the right or the left or short, or your arm just a little bit lower arm slot angle, whatever it might be, how difficult is that to sort of search to find that groove again that he was in last year?
Yeah, it can be difficult. I think when you're looking for things, you're obviously in a position where you're not on top of your game, whether it be mechanically or physically, whatever it might be. But seemingly, once you find it, you look in the mirror and say, why didn't I pick this up so much earlier? It was just so easy. And everyone goes through stretches. I don't care if you're talking about your defense, you're talking about your mechanics as a pitcher, your swing as a hitter. You go through the ups and downs during the course of a long baseball season. And I've rarely seen a player that has been locked in from opening day to the last game of the season where there's not been some search. But where the experience comes into play is you now have some reference points to go back to and say, I remember when I was having this issue at an earlier stage in my career, and this is what I did to correct it. And whether it be a coach that picks that up, whether you're able to do it yourself, and sometimes it's during the middle of a ball game. I mean, you'll have to make some adjustments right out in the middle of the field on the pitcher's mound, and having that reference point and the experience to go to it, that's where it's so valuable to have that. And you see the more veteran players have the ability to do that. They can slow the game down, and they can kind of figure out what they need to do to get back in sync, back in rhythm, and they make that adjustment. And that's, again, just something that younger players are still searching for ways to make that happen.
How visiting with Jeff Montgomery, why is it so difficult sometimes, and baseball's a hard sport, but why is it so difficult sometimes for pitchers just to make the throw over to a base? Or last night we see Trevor Stephan make the throw home, and what looked like it was going to be an easy out for Blanco. He was going to get in a rundown, and all of a sudden he scores. Is there a panic that comes in? What happens with that? Or just such a different maybe throw than what they're doing so many times in their life is, pitching out of the windup or the stretch or things like that. It just seems like it's more times than not an adventure when a pitcher has to throw to a base or home.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good word would be panic. I think you have a lot more time than you realize, and that's why in spring training and even during the season you go through what we call PFP, pitcher's fielding practice, just to try to find a way to make sure that you can slow the game down and make that throw to second base to turn a double play, or throw the ball home, or even just making the routine play, throwing the ball to first base. It's just repetition. But I think oftentimes, pitchers especially, they get a little bit too amped up and feel like they got to really speed things up. And you see it so many times where ground ball right back to the pitcher, and he tries to make a quick throw to second base. Next thing you know, he's throwing the ball into center field. Or like we saw last night with Stephan throwing the ball away at home, is like 50 feet away from the catcher, and he wasn't able to make an accurate throw. So I think with pitchers, you're kind of in tune with your mechanics and coming set and going through your delivery. Everything's just perfect. But when you have to make a throw to a base, it seems like you get out of your routine or your rhythm and your sync.
Throwing to a base, from a pitcher standpoint or from a position player standpoint, obviously the position players do it all the time. And I bring that up because last night, Maikel Garcia has just been so good and so fun to watch over at third base. I mean, he's picking it, he's throwing it. And one of the double plays, and I can't remember who it was, but it was, when it was easier bounce to Garcia, sort of a tailor-made bounce to him. But, when he fields it and then fires it over to Nicky Lopez, it's not an easy throw when Lopez is on the run to get to second base and he's throwing from third. It's not a little shovel from short or shovel from second to short, but that throw from third base can go into right field, or it can be too high or too low when Lopez is on the run. And he just hits him perfectly right in the glove. Lopez steps on second, fires over to first, gets him by a half step. Those small things, I feel like Garcia makes it look so easy and so natural for him. How surprised maybe are you, and how surprised do you think the Royals are at how well he's acclimated to third, and not only that, the level in which he's playing over at third?
Yeah, he's looked really comfortable. I think moving from shortstop to third base is probably not a real difficult move because you're just in a reaction position. You don't have to worry about a lot of things going on up the middle. You can just kind of set yourself, get ready for that rocket coming your way, especially when you have left-handers on the mound, and just make those plays. And he's been really outstanding, especially on balls coming in, those tough plays where third baseman's got to come in and make that throw on the run. But he's been extremely quick. He's been accurate, and he's made a lot of plays that I don't think every third baseman in baseball have the ability to make. And then you work at what he's done with his bat at the plate. I mean, he doesn't look like a player that has a very, very small amount of experience. It looks like a guy that goes out there and has done it for years. So I think the Royals have found something in Michael Garcia. I think they knew they had it. I don't know if they knew they were going to see it this fast.
Yeah, no, it's been fun to watch him play. Play defense. It's been fun to watch him hit and things like that. So hopefully that continues, and they have found something with Michael Garcia. Jeff Montgomery, Bally Sports Royals Hall of Famer, presented by First Federal Bank of Kansas City. You talked about it in the postgame last night, you and Joel, after the game was over, and the unfortunate ninth inning for Scott Barlow, and just not throwing the fastball. Is that a trust thing in Barlow? Is it something more there? His last two outings, he's thrown 47 pitches, Monty, and 44 of those have been sliders and curves, only 3 fastballs in his last 47 pitches. Why do you think that is from Scott Barlow?
Well, he's had a great amount of success with his slider and his curveball. I just think that there's so much information now available. I would guess that the Guardians hitters last night were sitting on a breaking ball because they were not fooled. The only way he was missing bats is if he was down under the strike zone and they were chasing. But anything that was kind of in that strike zone area, they were able to put pretty good wood on it. The first hit, the nailer guy was just kind of off the end of the bat, but I don't think he is able to make that swing if he's got to protect against the fastball, because Scott Barlow's got a really good fastball. He's got a mid-90s fastball. I don't think he has enough trust in the fastball that he probably would throw it in those really crunch time situations. He probably looks at his fastball as his third best pitch, and I think regardless of what your best pitch is, you have to be able to incorporate fastballs if you're going to get big league hitters out. Again, especially with all the scouting and all the information available, them knowing that, because you can throw the best breaking ball in the world. If the hitter knows you're going to throw the best breaking ball in the world, he's probably got a chance of adjusting and making some contact and doing something with it. But if he's got to be thinking fastball or curveball or fastball or slider, I think that puts that little bit of doubt in his mind, and then he understands that I can't just look for that little curveball or slider down and away and serve it to right field. I've got to be respectful of Scott Barlow's fastball. So I'd love to see him get back to using his fastball a little more and more effectively, because it will make his breaking balls that much better.
Yeah, visiting with Jeff Montgomery, First Federal Bank of Kansas City. Look, it was a loss for the Royals and wasn't great there, but a cool story still last night with a local kid in Will Brennan from here, and now playing for the Guardians, and so that was kind of cool to see him out there his first game at Kauffman Stadium, and good for him, and certainly his friends and family in attendance that he comes through there in the top of the ninth inning. So non-Royals related, and it's unfortunate it happened against the Royals, but always root for the local players. And a guy, went to high school here, went to college at K-State, 8th round pick by the Guardians, and now up and making plays and making a difference for a team that's trying to win a division. Yeah,
and he's swinging the bat extremely well right now. I can't remember exactly the number, but the last month or so, or last 3 weeks, he's been on fire, hitting close to 400 and get the 3 hits last night. So, yeah, it would be great if he did it against somebody else, but he still pull for those guys who have that local connection.
Yep, visiting with Jeff Montgomery. Austin Cox goes tonight as a starter, not the bulk reliever, not coming in after the opener. He is starting tonight. He was predominantly a starter down in the minor leagues. He's been a reliever with the big league club since he's made his debut, and he's got the Major League Baseball record of consecutive batters without allowing a hit, and the no-hit ball that he started his career with. What do you thinking tonight? Or let me start with this part. What are you seeing from Austin Cox that he's gone, 12 plus innings with only 2 hits and 13 strikeouts? Nobody has scored on him yet.
I think the biggest thing is he's got 4 quality pitches. Nothing dominant or overpowering with regards to any of his pitches, I don't think, but the way he uses all 4 of those pitches and filling up the strike zone, I think it makes him very difficult to predict. And as a result, he's gone out and thrown 12-plus innings and not given up a run yet. Spread that over 6 games. So, he's been exposed against some pretty good hitters, too, with the Otanis and the Trouts and some of the top hitters in baseball and done extremely well. So he's not phased by being in the major leagues. He's not phased by who's standing in the batter's box. He's trusting his stuff, and he's just going out and attacking and throwing strikes, and that's the biggest key. He's not overwhelmed by the environment.
What are you thinking maybe for a pitch count tonight? He threw 53 pitches in the relief role, in the bulk relief role, 3 in I think 2/3 innings. His most recent outing against the Rays, but what do you expect against the Rays? Yeah, Rays. What are you expecting maybe for a pitch count tonight? Can he get to 70, maybe 80 as they continue to try to stretch him out?
Yeah, I'd say 75 or 80 pitches wouldn't be a problem for him based on the workload he's had, before he was called up as being a starting pitcher. So he should be pretty well stretched out as far as being able to get hopefully 4 or 5 quality innings. And the way he's throwing the ball with the efficiency, he might be able to go 5 or 6. Who knows? I mean, I think if you get 5 out of it, you'd have to be extremely pleased, and it would be great for him. And I think the biggest thing to watch for Austin Cox will be what happens when he gives up that first run. How does he handle, not saying necessarily getting beat, but not being dominant. I always say that it's easy going out there when you got a 0 ERA and nobody's really done much with regards to a threat to score against you. But once you have some traffic on the bases, you give up a run or 2, how to get back on that horse and handle that. And he seems very prepped and ready to do that. But I think it's still one of those next tests that you have to pass along the way.
Yeah. How much work can you put in between starts to stretch out that pitch count? I mean, is there a fear of tiring your arm out if you're trying to throw 70, 80 pitches in a bullpen session when you want to get stretched out as a starter? What kind of work goes in between starts or between appearances, I should say, when you're trying to get more out of this guy that you feel like is effective enough? Let's put him out there as a starter, but we can't put him out there as a starter if he's only going to be able to go 30, 40 pitches.
Yeah, I think it's probably a little more difficult when you have to have the availability in a game in case they need some length out of you. So probably more difficult to build up and work a lot in side sessions. Having the off day Monday probably helped. They may be able to have gotten some work in on that off day. I don't know for sure if that was the case or not, but having that off day probably helped, at least knowing that they weren't going to need some length and some innings out of Austin Cox and allow him to prepare for the start tonight.
Jeff Montgomery is our guest, Bally Sports Royals Hall of Famer, presented by First Federal Bank of Kansas City. Last thing I wanted to talk about was Zach Greinke, and we played the clips from Greinke's most recent outing, and he sounded pretty defeated. He always, emotions are rare from Zach Greinke when he's talking anyway, but just listening to what he's saying when he was talking about, I don't control any at-bat anymore. There's not an at-bat that I control anymore. And then talked about the end about wins, and he's like, well, I'm not winning really anymore anyway. He's got a 5.31 ERA, which is his highest since 2005 when he was a 21-year-old in his second year in the big leagues. The previous high after that was a 4.37, so a full run higher than his previous high ERA of 2016, and last year at a 3.68. What's going on with Zach Greinke? Is it the hitters let you know when maybe it's time? Because it was an interesting admission from Greinke saying my stuff isn't good enough. I can't control any at bat anymore.
Yeah, we know we're going to get exactly what Zach's thinking through his comments, and I like you, I sense a lot of frustration. I know it's easy to be frustrated when you're going out there, putting in the work, doing everything you can possibly do to be on top of your game, and then when results are not there, that little man on your upstairs says, "Do I still have it or not?" You think about that. I remember going through it my last season, and it's extremely frustrating because the lack of success is not due to lack of preparation or lack of work from Zach Greinke, putting that effort into it. Now, he went through a little stretch last year where I remember they had to shut him down for a while. Had maybe some forearm tightness, and they shut him down for a while. He came back and he pitched really well down the stretch. So it may just be a fact or a situation where he's not quite as sharp with regards to his ability to execute all those pitches. We know Zach has to be very precise with his location, but he has the ability to do that. We've seen it time and time again. We just haven't seen it as much here lately in his last few starts. But earlier in the year, it certainly was there, and very encouraged every time Zach would take the mound. But I'd love to see him find a way to get out there and kind of get back on track and get that confidence back and be able to finish the season out on a very positive note for him. He's got, I think, tonight's game number 80. So basically, you got a half a season to go, and love to see him be able to, finish strong.
All right, one non-Royals question for you. We saw Shohei Ohtani last weekend when the Angels were in town before the Royals went on their road trip. Last night, he strikes out 10 batters and hits a couple of home runs in the game. Can you even put into words like what we're watching right now, that this guy is doing this at this level to where he's leading the majors in home runs and RBIs and OPS, and he's third in strikeouts, and he's number one in batting average against, as a pitcher this year? It always used to be, Monty, that it was one or the other. Like, we're not going to let you do, but you choose one or the other. You can't do both. It's not happening. Even Babe Ruth eventually had to choose one side or the other, but this guy's just been so incredible, and you start to run out of superlatives and ways to describe what he's doing.
Well, I guess one superlative that I'll use is expensive. He's going to be very expensive.
That's right.
But, yeah, it has been incredible. Every time he pitches against us or, we play against the Angels, you're just, it's that can't miss. Every time he's going to go to the plate, you got to make sure you're in a good position to see what's going to happen next, because he's certainly he's a thriller, no doubt about it.
Jeff Montgomery, Bally Sports, Royals Hall of Famer. Jeff, as always, man, really appreciate the time. Have a good call tonight, and we will talk next week.
Okay, appreciate having me on, Jason.
And there's Jeff Montgomery. First Federal Bank of Kansas City presents Monty each and every time he's on with us. Is your man cave ready? Complete your game day setup with a home equity line of credit from First Federal Bank of Kansas City. Get game day ready at ffbkc.com. Excited to see Austin Cox tonight to see what he can do as a starter. Again, predominantly a starter throughout the minors. Didn't have amazing numbers that it was like, well, this guy is just beating down the door. Like, you've got to bring this guy up to the big leagues. Like, a year ago at this time when they eventually called up Vinny Pasquantino, was like, what else is he going to do? So they bring up Austin Cox, and, he makes his debut out of the bullpen, and now an opportunity to head back to being a starter. And we'll see. 53 pitches, his most recent outing when he came in the bulk relief from Jose Cuas, and we'll find out what he looks like tonight. So hopefully he can continue that rolling. It's virtually, not even virtually, it is impossible for him to continue rolling what he's doing right now with 12 and a third, no earned runs, only 6 base runners, 13 strikeouts in that time. That's not going to happen. You'd be the greatest pitcher of all time if you were to do that. But what does he look like over the course of a game? How long can he go? Is he pitch efficient? Does it take a while for him to get back used to being a starter? Is it out of that role? As Monty said, what happens when there's a run put on the board? A home run, it leaves the park. Does he lose a little bit of confidence because he's dealing and he's rolling right now? What happens when maybe there's a little bit of trouble along the way? We'll see. Jeff Montgomery, Bally Sports, Royals Hall of Famer, presented by First Federal Bank of Kansas City. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone right after this.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hey Kansas City, this is MJ Melendez. Tickets for Less has the best seats at the best prices, and you never pay per ticket service fees, saving you big at checkout. Score great deals to all your favorite events, local and nationwide, at ticketsforless.com, or download the free Tickets for Less app today.
Hey Jayhawks fans, come out this summer to cheer on Mass Street, your Kansas basketball alumni team, as they compete in the basketball tournament for a $1 million prize. Cheer on Keith Langford, Thomas Robinson, Marcus Garrett, and more former Jayhawks legends as they compete against alumni teams from Wichita State, Kansas State, Missouri, and more. Mass Street will compete in the Wichita Super Regional at Koch Arena from July 19th through the 25th. Don't miss the best summer basketball event Kansas has to offer. Get your tickets now at thetournament.com/tickets.
Is your deck as old as your house, worn out, you never use it? Well, let All Weather Decks design a deck that you actually use. A new deck is a great place to spend time with friends and family. It increases the value of your home. So don't waste that space. Call All Weather Decks today. All Weather Decks is a 23-time winner of the Angels Super Service Award. They've probably helped out one of your neighbors. Just click on the map link on All Weather Decks website, allweatherdecks.net. Call Cass and his team today at 913-206-1974 or go online to allweatherdecks.net and relax.
The wait is over.
Microwave to melt it. That just takes too long. You got to make that play right away, baby. And that's why, that's why I'm like the maple syrup. That's why she used to always say that, because I'm quick with it. I just drizzle all over the place.
On Sports Radio 810.
Thank you to Jeff Montgomery, Royals Hall of Famer, Valley Sports, presented by First Federal Bank of Kansas City. We'll hang out with Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. A lot of football still to get into today throughout the show. I did want to did you see the stat with Ohtani, what he did last night?
I did.
2 home runs and 10 strikeouts in a game.
He must have had, what, 12 at-bats then? That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? 12 at-bats, he struck out 10 times. What do they score, like 25 runs? That wouldn't happen.
Never.
Nope.
2 home runs and 10 strikeouts.
As a pitcher, to have 2 home runs in a game and strike out 10 or more batters, it's an unbelievable stat. What I find to be even more unbelievable is that he was the 6th guy to do it.
That is shocking.
I don't know why that, I thought it would be, he's the 2nd player ever to do this. And the only other player did it when they were a starter in the National League, when it used to be the pitcher's, hit. And that guy hit 2 home runs in the game, and it's like he's got 4 home runs on his career, and he had 10 strikeouts that day.
And that man's name was Tungsten Armo Doyle.
That's right. So I was really surprised to find out that, it had happened 5 times before. Now, shocker, 4 of the 5 were in the National League. He is the first American League player since 1963 to do that. Because, pitchers were DHing in the American League. But 1963, Cleveland's Pedro Ramos, July 31st of 63, came in the nightcap of a doubleheader against the Angels. And he hit, which is oddly enough, that was funny, it was against the Angels. He hit 2 home runs and struck out 10 batters for Cleveland at that time. The National League players to do it, 1961, Milt Pappas, 1971, Rick Weiss, 2017, he who shall not be named for this particular conversation for some reason, even though I've named him a number of times, Bumgarner, and then 2019, Zach Greinke.
I wondered if Greinke had done it.
Greinke's the most recent one to do it.
Pre-Ohtani.
When he was with Arizona. Yeah.
Huh, okay.
As of yesterday afternoon, Greinke was the most recent one to do it. It's an amazing stat. And what Ohtani is doing this year, as I said to Monty, you run out of superlatives to talk about what he is and how good he is and dominant he is. Both sides on the field. It's unbelievable. And I was shocked to see that he was the 6th guy to do it. It's weird. It kind of takes a little bit away from because so much of Ohtani is the first pitcher to do this in a game with this hits, the first pitcher to do this and that, the first pitcher to do this, and the first hitter to do this and have it. All of these things are the first. And it was like, did you see what he did last night? Dude, he's the 6th ever player to do that. Oh, really? Huh. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. That's a cool accomplishment, but, he's also the 3rd active player to do it. I mean, it's like, Bumgarner, Greinke.
Some of these numbers will make some sense just based off of, how often you hit versus how often you pitch. But I just had the curiosity, and Shohei Ohtani's baseball reference page is going to be the Barry Bonds baseball reference page for the next generation, where you'd open it up to just see some crazy things.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani has allowed 47 home runs as a pitcher in his career. He's hit 155. Come on! Come on! He is allowed in his career as a pitcher 153 runs. He has 406 RBI for his career.
Jordan Lyles is actually trying to catch the home runs of Ohtani, how many he's hit over his career. He's trying to catch that this year of giving up.
He might actually. I'll check
Jordan Lyles like
too.
150. Give me another 15 starts. I can catch that. Yeah, how many has he hit this year?
Ohtani.
So what was the number? He's hit 150, but he's given up how many?
47.
He's given up 47
in his career. He has more than 100 more home runs hit than allowed, which would be impressive if you were only a hitter. if you never pitched. Who was the position player who ended up pitching for the Royals towards the beginning of the year?
Nate Eaton.
Nate Eaton can have some fun stat lines, where he can say, my offensive production has outweighed what I have allowed as a pitcher. But he's not actually a pitcher, folks.
Lyles has given up 19 home runs, so he's actually better. He no longer leads the league in home runs given up. I don't know who does, but he doesn't have the bold black over the number on his baseball reference page anymore. He doesn't earned runs still, so he still has given up the most earned runs.
Oh, yeah, he sure has.
Which he also did in 2020 and 21 when he led the league in earned runs given up.
Consistency.
Also led the league in home runs given up in 2021. But it is interesting, like the back and forth of his career, that the Royals, he's been god-awful, and now we went from Ohtani to Lyles, so if you want to talk about night and day.
If Jordan Lyles was like a 70% better pitcher and then also one of the best hitters in baseball, he'd be Shohei Ohtani. There you go. There's
a connection. But he's got a 6.7 ERA this year. Last year with Baltimore, it's a Baltimore team that finished above 500, he had a 4.42 ERA. In 2020 with Texas, a team that finished 22-38, he had a 7 ERA. In 2019 with Milwaukee, he was traded to Milwaukee, a team that finished 89-73. For Milwaukee, he had a 2.5 ERA. In 2017 with the Padres, he had a 9 ERA. 2016 with the Rockies, he had a almost 6 ERA. 2014 with the Rockies, how good were they? No, they were 30 games under 500, and he had a better ERA. But certainly of late, there seems to be some sort of a trend. Maybe it's correlation, causation. Maybe it's just coincidental in Major League Baseball. But when Jordan Lyles is on a team that's pretty good, his ERA is like 2 runs less than what it is right now. And whether that's like, well, I don't care about the wins and losses. Like, well, of course, if he's on a better team, he's going to win more games. But the ERA part of it, and I don't know, is it that teams play better defense behind him, even though those runs count as earned, but it's just in general they're better. The way the overall team goes about their approach, maybe the way Jordan Lyles goes about his approach. I don't know, but it is odd that a 4.4 ERA last year on a team that finished above 500, and a 6.7 ERA this year on a team that is barreling towards not 500, a 7 ERA on a team that was 16 games under 500 in a 60-game season, a 3.3 ERA on a team that finished with 89 wins on the season.
What I'm hearing is that some good team should trade for Jordan Lyles because he basically has a 4.68 ERA right now, and that's pretty valuable. And a year of team control after that. I mean,
if you get this guy on a good team, he's going to be relatively decent for you. You know what he sounds like to me? He sounds like Tyler Mahle for the Twins last year. For the Reds that they traded to the Twins and got Encarnacion Strand. That's what maybe they should trade him to the Reds and get Encarnacion Strand. Or Ellie De La Cruz. Who says no? Says no?
It might take both for me.
Who says no? Jordan Lyles to the Reds for Ellie De La Cruz straight up. I mean, come on. How do you say no to that if you're the Reds? You get a pitcher.
Maybe you can also dump Salvi's salary in that.
That's a bridge too far for me. I don't want to do that for Ellie. The Royals have a shortstop and a third baseman. Now you're just talking about a log jam on the left side of the infield with Witt, Garcia, and then every once in a while, Ellie De La Cruz playing off the bench.
Platoon him, probably. Jordan Lyles per Spotrac here, including next year's deal with the Royals, he will tick just across the $50 million career earning line.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Be a pitcher.
$50 million. $1 million for every earned run that he has given up so far this year.
Yep. And that's why I make my son every morning throw 50 pitches. Bullpen session every morning. Dad, my arm hurts. Keep throwing it. We're going to get the Tommy John out of the way early.
I also undershot it.
That guy's 8 years old having Tommy John. Yeah, because he cares.
Exactly.
That's why.
A good, nice, springy ligament in there for him.
You understand how much he loves baseball? He loves baseball so much, he had elective Tommy John surgery.
In his non-throwing arm.
Yeah.
We're dangerously
He got
close
a cadaver ligament just for S's and G's.
He actually has 2 ligaments now in his elbow.
He doubled the ligaments.
That thing's never breaking.
I went in there and duct taped that thing.
His arm is very tight.
We opened it up, duct taped his ligaments together. It's never... We couldn't fix it. We said duck it. And we did. I did it myself because I care.
Got some Gorilla Glue up in there. This kid's going to pitch forever.
All I'm saying is, hey, son, pay me back when you make a lot of money. That's all because I did it for you.
Exactly.
I did it because you cared. I would never force you to do that. No.
Never.
Jason's son walks into school with the ice wrap every single morning, just on the shoulder, massive bag.
It's old school 80s and 90s. Why are you wearing half a jacket over just your right arm?
I like that
too. Jacket over the right arm, just walking around. Well, because I don't need to keep my left arm warm. Duh. It's only my right arm that needs to be warmed.
Mr. Anderson, we're just concerned about the fact that every single day your kid walks in here looking like Ben Roethlisberger in week 14. And it's just, the number of ice packs on this kid are really concerning. How's everything at home?
We'd also like to keep him away from the women. So if you could.
Doubly concerning.
Just by looking like Ben, it scares everybody.
Where everyone's afraid.
Yes.
Please control your child.
Yes, Mrs. whatever teacher or Mr. whatever teacher. I actually would like Everett to write with his left hand. He's not allowed to use his right hand after we have a bullpen session. So trying to keep it fresh. Thank you.
Trying to build a legacy here.
Yeah. How about this? Learn how to read his handwriting left-handed. That sounds like a you problem, teacher.
I thought he was here to be
successful. He doesn't play school.
That's exactly right. What's he going to make $50 million in? Huh? Math? Or Jordan Lylesing it?
Handwriting expert? No, thank you.
Yeah.
He's going to be a crafty lefty.
Was he going to make $50 million transcribing things for you guys, writing it out? Was he going to be master of the quill, dipping it in ink with a little feather on the top? No! He's going to do it by putting a feather on the 6 innings of 4 earned run baseball that he just threw.
My kid's either going to learn how to throw a curveball or he's going to learn how to throw a nickel into a coffer somewhere because he will not be my son.
All right, that segment's over. We'll take a timeout.
Cool.
We will come back and tell you about something really awesome coming up in August. The Cowboy Up Triathlon, what it's about, how you can get involved, and why it's going on, and what it benefits. We'll do that coming up next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
and go to work.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. Very pleased to be joined by Chad Corey hanging out with us here in studio because the Cowboy Up Triathlon is coming up on August 6th, the 11th annual Cowboy Up Triathlon, and that'll be going on here in Kansas City. Chad, how are you, man?
I'm doing well.
Good to see you.
It's my annual jump onto the radio.
That's right. I'm like, you know what? I haven't talked to Chad Corey in a while. Can we get him on here? What is it? Maybe if he comes up with a triathlon, we can bring him on. But no, in all seriousness, cowboyuptriathlon.com is where people can go, and there are different triathlons out there, different things. But the importance of this one to you, to me, to others around, why this triathlon, and how did the Cowboy Up Triathlon start?
Well, it is the Matt Mason Memorial Cowboy Up Triathlon, and Matt was a Navy SEAL, and he was unfortunately he was killed in Afghanistan, and as you know, he was one of my best friends. We're up at Northwest Missouri State together, both of us in the same fraternity, roommates, all that good stuff, and when Matt was when he was injured really bad in Fallujah, and everybody thought, okay, he's not going to go back on the teams and everything, but Matt's mindset was, no, I'm going to get back on the teams. And the way he did that was the way he recovered from his injuries. He started doing triathlons. And it used to be when
which is one what somebody typically does. You're very badly injured. How do we rehab? Triathlons.
Yeah, right.
I guess that's an idea of the mindset of Matt Mason.
Yes. So when Matt would, it used to be when he would come into town, everybody would like the guy was just everybody gravitated towards him because he was so fun, and he was a blast to hang out with. We did crazy stuff all the time, but he. When he would come into town, it would be like, hey, let's all get together and we'll have some beers and blah 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 and all that stuff. Well, after the injury and everything, he came back in, and after he had recovered, obviously after a long recovery for that stuff, he would come into town. He'd be like, hey, you're going to do this triathlon with me. And
what happened to beers?
Yeah, and I was like, no, I'm not. Like, have fun doing that.
Yeah.
I don't like to run. I don't like to swim. I don't like to bike. Any of that stuff. So,
other than that, though.
Other than that, I'll be at the finish line with a natty light for you. But no, but he, as he did all the time, he convinced us all to like, okay, all right, he's coming into town. Yeah, let's try this triathlon thing, and we really liked it. I mean, it was fun. I mean, it was something we and even when he wasn't around, we had a core group of us that started doing a lot of these, and it was a lot of fun. And actually, 3 of the guys that he got into it have went on to do Ironman.
Really?
Like the legit
Yes.
Ironman.
The ridiculousness.
Yeah, like Steve Zimmer, Mark McWilliams, Chad Mans. I mean, those guys they're Ironman, and it all started with Matt saying, "Hey, why don't you do this triathlon with me?" So when the accident happened and he was unfortunately killed, we wanted to do something in his name and everything. So we said, you know what? He got us into triathlon. Why don't we do a triathlon for him? And it's really the Cowboy Up is really made for beginners. I mean, for somebody that's always wanted to do triathlon and has just it's too hard, blah blah blah. This is I mean, we have a short course and a long course, but the short course, I mean, it's very flat for the bike and the run, and the roads are newly paved, so
Nice.
it's the swim is the swim. That's what scares everybody off, so we started this triathlon 11 years ago, which is amazing. And I mean, when when the accident happened, Matt had two young boys and one on the way, and now we get to watch those boys like actually doing the race. Yeah, so it's so cool, and his mom and dad are always there at the end, and they're putting the medals over, on it. It is the most patriotic race in the Midwest. I guarantee it. When people go, we have so many people that do it year after year after year, and the first time they go up, they're like, man, why have I not come up? They usually start as like a volunteer,
yeah,
and then they look around, they're like, oh my gosh, that guy's doing it, that lady's doing it, I could totally do this, and then they're doing it the next year. So and it's a great event. It's so much fun, and one of the things we're pushing this year are the team relays, because if somebody it's always the swim that scares people away.
Mm-hmm.
But you could do a team, find a swimmer, grab somebody with a bike, and then you can run. And it's just so fun. I mean, it's really like a team building thing. And if you've got a bunch of buddies that have thought about doing it, that is a great way of doing it. And I'm challenging you, Jason and Josh.
Oh boy.
Okay, Dylan.
Dylan, you a good swimmer?
Yes.
Can you swim, Dylan? I can ride a bike. Is it downhill? I got the bike riding downhill.
Yes, it is all downhill. It's the easiest race ever.
God, invest in one of those electric bikes. Can I take my son's electric scooter on that? Got it, guys.
They do not allow the electric bikes, but
these rules.
Yeah, rules. But no, I mean the short course is a 500-meter swim, an 11-mile bike, and a 5K. And I mean,
it's not bad.
It's not bad. I was expecting it to be steeper, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. So I mean, it literally, like when somebody jumps in the water, that swim is going to take you like 12 minutes if you're not a good swimmer. I mean, it when you get out there, you're like, oh my god, I got to go all the way out there, and then you start and you're like, oh, I'm already back, and boom, you're there. So that's the most intimidating part. But I encourage people to go to the website cowboyuptriathlon.com and look at some of the videos on there. You can see videos of all the stuff, and it's relatively cheap. It's if you sign up before July 1st, which is Saturday, you can do it for $95 for the short course, $105 for the long course. And then, or if you want to do the team relay, it's $115 for the team, or $120 for the short course, and $125 for the long course. But today, if you guys don't mind, and maybe if somebody's like thinking about doing, if I need 8:10 represented in the race. Seren has said he's going to do it for years, and he's never done it. But
I'll do it when Seren does it.
So but today, if somebody calls in, I will give them a free relay. So I'll give them a promo code. So if somebody's serious and they got a team, I need to put an 8-10 team together.
Love it.
Awesome. So they could call in and they could get a free. They got to come up.
How many people for the group?
3.
So if you can call in and be ready to sign up for a group of you and 2 friends for the relay.
Yep.
You'll take care of the info there.
Yeah, and this is great for like if you have a high school student that loves to do this. I mean, we're getting a lot more high school kids going out and doing it. Get your buddies together, and it's just it's so much fun. We had so much fun training together, and then afterwards you go out, have some burgers, and have some pops, whatever, and it's just a blast. I mean, and you feel so accomplished. You get done, you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, we have skydivers come in, we have the national anthem, we have a cannon going off. One thing that is very like on the run, you have pictures of every soldier that was killed in the Chinook on the day of the accident. I mean, it gives me chills. It's so inspirational. I mean, you're running and I mean, and all of a sudden, you see the face of the guy that like of a hero, that like gave the ultimate sacrifice. I mean, these guys were going in to help others, and and the Chinook got shot down. It was the biggest loss of life in military life in Afghanistan for our military. It was so. I mean, we need to honor these guys, and you could donate to, and all proceeds. We don't make a penny out of this. We give all the money back to local charities and scholarships. We have a scholarship up at Northwest Missouri State in Matt's name. We have one at Maple Woods because he played baseball there. And then we give to other places like the American Legion and the Battle Within, and I'm missing one of them. But Healing Waters, I think it's called something else. Darn it, I messed that up. I have it in my notes, but
we'll retape this and get that out there. It's no big deal. Yeah,
no problem.
No worries. No worries.
But all you can make donations online. You can come, you volunteer, come out and watch. I mean, it's such a cool event. I mean, there's just flags. The fire department up there, because Matt grew up in Kearney, and the local people up there, all that surrounding area in Smithville and everything, they're all out there. They're all supporting it. The firefighters are out there. They hang that big flag. I mean, when you're coming in, I mean, it's an early morning, but I mean, it's totally worth it. You're like driving underneath this huge flag, and then when you finish, I mean, it's just like flags lined up. Little kids are handing you an American flag, because when you come up the chute, when you're in the race on the run, I mean, you're holding that flag up high, and I mean, and me and Chad Mans are on there, and we're announcing your name and where you're from. We're saying, hey man, way to go, and then Mama Mason and Dave Mason are putting the finishing medal around your neck. It's such a great event. Once people go, they're like, man, this is the best. And it's a great way, if you've never done a triathlon, or if you're a veteran triathlon, I mean, this is the race. This is the race to go to.
CowboyUpTriathlon.com, the 11th annual Matt Mason Cowboy Up Triathlon, coming up on August 6th. So, a little over a month away. That's going to be up at Smithville Lake, and the first Sunday in August typically is when this takes place. And 11 years running now, and riding and swimming, obviously, with the triathlon. So an 8-10 team. We've got one represented, Dylan. Awesome.
We do. His name is Dave Dipman. And
Dave Dipman.
Dave.
Called in. He's actually a retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel, and he's having another retired, his buddy, Marine Lieutenant Colonel, and daughter, retired Navy Commander, all participate.
That's
That
awesome.
is awesome. And and something different that we're doing this year,
Dave.
because this has been so big. And you and I have a friend. His name's Jeff Bailey. He's up in Omaha. I think he's listening right now.
What's up, Jeff?
But he's an artist, and we knew he was an artist in college because he slept until like 2:00 in the afternoon.
Or he was just a college kid in the fraternity house.
He's a great artist, and he did this painting of Patrick Mahomes and some friends of the triathlon. Jason Key was able to go down. He was able to get Patrick Mahomes to autograph this painting, this one-of-a-kind painting. I think there's a couple, but this painting that Jeff did, and we are going to do a silent auction for that. So it is going to be we're going to have pictures up on our website and on the Facebook, all of our social posts and everything. But a Patrick Mahomes autograph,
an original painting,
that's
awesome.
by the man Jeff Bailey.
That is awesome.
Omaha,
That's really cool.
You know what? He may not be up right now.
He's an artist. It's noon,
so
he's not going to be up. His alarm's about to go off right now.
No.
And so at noon, his alarm goes off. He's going to hit snooze for another hour.
Yeah.
Because who wants to get up that early? So that's difficult to get out of bed there. Chad, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on and sharing this, and we'll continue to pass along the information for the 11th annual Matt Mason Cowboy Up Triathlon coming up on August 6th. The silent auction. Go to the website. You can volunteer. You can donate, you can participate, you can go watch, you can go hang out, you can do a lot of different things, and just around the ambiance of the whole thing. And the most patriotic triathlon in America. I'd be hard pressed to find another one that has
challenge
this right there. Yeah. Chad, appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. There's Chad Corey. Again, CowboyUpTriathlon.com. Go check that out. And again, it's a great point with the beginners. If you want to try a triathlon, see what it's like. Well, I mean, you could do the 19 mile bike ride and the 10K and the swimming, or you can say, you know what, let me give it a shot to see what it's like to do all three of these, and I'll do the short course, 500-meter swim and the 11-mile bike ride, a 5K running, and see what that's like. And maybe that gets you started into triathlons and some other things. So go check it out again. That is CowboyUpTriathlon.com, coming up on August 6th there at Smithville Lake. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com in the 810 mobile app.
ESPN.com to get more information. By the way, text came in, said, I'm listening to you guys right now. I just took this pick. It's Matt's memorial in his hometown of Kearney. An amazing Patriot. Like, right there, yeah. Right on the bus, with the door opened up right there in front of the Kearney Historic Museum. The Matt Mason Memorial that's there, and the Matt Mason Memorial Cowboy Up Triathlon coming up on August 6th. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Little nugget on Shohei Ohtani that we were talking about in the previous hour. This comes from somebody I've never heard of before, but he said he got .4 WAR batting last night and .4 WAR pitching last night. So he got an entire win above replacement player in one game.
Which actually sounds kind of right.
Yeah, which I do think, like, he should have more wars, throughout the season. Like, I feel like there are games where he's just won on his own that it should be like, oh, hey, he hit the walk-off home run. That's a war.
That's
there
bold,
you go.
Jason. I think we should have less wars.
That's one win for him. There you go. What is his season long? Like, what's it? What he is?
How many wins do the Angels have? What if Ohtani and Trout? What do they combine to? And then where does that leave the Angels?
Ohtani's season is 6.1.
That feels outrageously low.
It does, right? The Angels are 44-37.
Is that hitting and pitching combined? That's his total.
I don't know. Now you're asking me all these.
I didn't know that this was a conversation we were having.
Questions and everything like that. That's a high level of question that I don't really know. What do I look like, Bill James to you?
You do actually.
Come on, man.
You do. I've been meaning to.
We're
gonna
talk Bean Factory over here.
You gotta pull it together.
What do I look like? What do I look like? All right, 913-912-4810 is the text line. The Justin Ross of 2023.
I think Justin Ross of 2023 is Justin Ross.
You sure about that?
No.
You sure about that 5 minutes?
No. You said that so aggressively that I've changed my tune and wet my pants.
The 2023 Justin Ross is obviously Deneric Prince. Justin Prince, as we've talked about.
Yes.
Or Deneric Ross. At ESPN, they have a story of the surprise offseason standouts for all 32 NFL teams and players to watch. And with the Chiefs, you'd be surprised. Justin Ross, no. Running back, Deneric Prince. Adam Teicher writes here, Prince, a rookie undrafted free agent, took advantage of a thin running back depth chart and stood out as a receiver during off-season practice, making several difficult catches. With Isaiah Pacheco recovering from off-season surgery, Prince has a chance to claim not only a roster spot, but some playing time if he shows an aptitude for pass protection at training camp. So there are a couple of websites that have pointed out and talked about Deneric Prince this offseason, where last year it was the Justin Ross hype train until that was ended by surgery and a redshirt year, a medical redshirt year, which he's been through before. And the Deneric Prince hype train is really just starting down the tracks, just getting rolling. And I think we'll see more and more when training camp happens, when there will be fans there, more media there, rather than at the the mini camps and things like that, when they can watch just a little bit of practice. I mean, the mandatory mini camps, they can watch the whole thing, but you get it. I think there will be a lot more on the Deneric Prince hype train than there is currently, and it's starting to pick up steam.
I think that it is unfair to make him this year's Justin Ross. I do think this year's Justin Ross is still Justin Ross.
Was it fair to make Justin Ross last year's Justin Ross?
Probably not to Justin Ross, no.
Yeah.
But I think Deneric Prince is this year's Isaiah Pacheco. And not just because of the positional overlap.
He's going to be the starting running back this year.
Not necessarily.
He's going to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I'll take it. Sign me up.
He's going to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. He will become a household name for his dance moves, and he will, much like Pacheco did for Rutgers, he will make Tulsa appear as a football factory. Two just absolute, powerhouses.
Well, it's odd, though, that at the parade, he is going to wear a Rutgers hoodie.
It's
just going to be Pacheco as much as he can.
It's about keeping that energy going.
That's right.
But I do think it's more analogous to the offseason of conversations we had around Pacheco last year. Partially the position group, obviously, that's the easy one. But in terms of workload and availability and your spot in the roster, Pacheco is just as established right now as Clyde Edwards-Helaire was at this time last year. Jerick McKinnon is a year older, but will still be around. And Ronald Jones was, again, kind of the guy that we went, oh, well, where's he going to fit exactly? Clyde might be this year's Ronald Jones. I'm not completely sure yet. But also in the way that the hype has come about, I think this is really the core of why it feels different to me. It feels more like Pacheco and the hype that he earned last year. For Prince, it's in part about his individual skill set and what the Chiefs like to do and the Chiefs need. Justin Ross, I think, is an ongoing conversation of, oh man, remember what he did in his sophomore year at Clemson, maybe freshman year at Clemson was the national championship.
It's like if you could be drafted after 1 year in college, he'd have been a top 10
He would have been a top 10 pick. And a lot of that is about potential in him as a player. And I really think that the pairing of Prince and his skill set and what the Chiefs like to get from their running backs and their specific running back room as things stand right now, the nature of the position, we've seen a running back come in and take over in year one. 300 yards from Justin Ross would surprise me. It would
sign me up.
It would surprise me.
Sign me up right now.
500 for Deneric Prince would not. All purpose.
Really?
No. It would.
I
think that's more likely than Justin Ross having 300. I wouldn't take the over on Prince, but I could see him I could see him being the number 2 running back on this team at the end of the year.
I agree with that.
And there's no way that Justin Ross is the number 2 receiver on this team
because you can't predict injuries. And if Pacheco's already had the torn labrum, but he played through that, so clearly he's a tough son of a gun.
Absolutely.
And Jerick McKinnon has had some injury issues.
Been banged up.
And we know Clyde Edwards-Helaire has injury. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has more injury issues than Jerick McKinnon. Yet when we talk about guys that need to stay healthy, people aren't really, and maybe because Clyde Edwards-Helaire as opposed to McKinnon, people always thought, well, McKinnon, can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
Well, outside of the 2 years he lost to knee surgery, which that's a lot.
Big, yes, big.
Yeah. But Edwards-Helaire has had a shoulder, a hip, an ankle, a soft tissue. Jerick McKinnon had a knee injury.
Yep.
That then didn't recover right, and he lost another year because of it. So, and then he had the hamstring that cost him, 4 games in 2021? That's it. He has missed far fewer percentage of games in his career than Clyde Edwards-Helaire has. And Edwards-Helaire has all these different injuries. Right. So when we talk about guys needing to stay healthy, and so I think Deneric Prince has a chance from that standpoint because – yeah, there are guys. It's a running back in the NFL.
And it's running back room that has those issues. And again, where you have seen guys step in and look good in the offense and perform well right away. Mm-hmm. The path for Justin Ross to be this team's number 1 wide receiver is in 2025. It is a year of being on the team, and then maybe next year we can see where things go if he can stay healthy in 23. But Prince's window is open to be a contributor right now. I think this is more real than the Justin Ross hype, which is a longer-term investment.
We didn't get too in-depth on the Bill Barnwell piece yesterday about the Chiefs being ranked as the number 19 skill positions outside of quarterback. They were number 16 in 2022. They fell to number 19 preseason this year. They were number 6 before 2021 because, Tyreek Hill was on the team. But before 2022, they were 16th. They had Juju. They had McCole Hardman. Bill Barnwell talks about that. But the running back thing is interesting because of the way he described Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm going to read this again. The Chiefs also found an upgrade at running back last year in Isaiah Pacheco, who gave them the power back they needed to challenge teams that tried to face them with light boxes. Jerick McKinnon also stepped up as a receiver and became an unlikely threat near the red zone, more than doubling his career totals by putting up 9 receiving touchdowns. McKinnon's knees likely limit him to a change of pace role, but his partnership with Pacheco represents a major improvement on the limp style of Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Devastating.
Why don't you tell me how you really feel, Bill Barnwell, about Clyde Edwards-Helaire's running style?
There aren't a lot of...
Is he Lamar from Revenge of the Nerds? Like, they designed a javelin to match his limp-wristed throwing style. Like, he's a limp style of Clyde Edwards-Helaire's running?
You very rarely in anything want to be described as having a limp style. Certainly not running the football.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
That's typically, you're right. That is not a category you want to be in a lot of different things.
Cutting.
Bill Barnwell also writes here, so why did the Chiefs fall back from 16th place? The wide receiver depth chart's even sketchier. The nominal top wide out at the moment is Kadarius Toney, who has played 70% or more of the offensive snaps in a game exactly once in his 2 NFL seasons. Sky Moore, second-rounder last year, failed to make an impact before scoring a touchdown in Super Bowl. Chiefs added another second-round wideout in Rashee Rice. They lost 2 regulars in Juju and McCole Hardman. How about this for the whole hype train? He goes, of course, Mahomes will do just fine with one of the league's worst wide receiver depth charts, given that he just won MVP with a slightly better group a year ago. Outside of Marquez Valdez-Scantling, this is a young group, and there's a chance that Toney, Moore, or even Justin Ross emerges as a number 1 receiver.
Or, you know what? I accept this if we legally change his name to or even Justin Ross.
Is Bill Barnwell a member of the Chiefs Kingdom?
OEJR is what is my new nickname.
He called Clyde Edwards-Helaire limp style of running and said Justin Ross could grow into a number 1 receiver. I mean, this guy might as well have a fan site.
Seriously.
He might as well be tweeting as Chiefs Bill Barnwell 7502 Arrowhead's the greatest.
Too long.
Bleep you Bengals.
Justin Ross season
at Twitter.
SCN. At Twitter, at twitter.com/GeoCities. Let me open up my Netscape browser.
Thank you, if you would. I appreciate that.
Work right on
you got
that.
Firefox over there?
I do have Firefox.
Appreciate it. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, limp style of running, and Toney, Moore, or even Justin Ross could emerge as a number 1 receiver.
I'm going to try to remember to do this. I'm going to try to spend the rest of the offseason throughout training camp with just calling him or even Justin Ross, because that's exactly the tone that people say it. Because, look, could he be a weapon in this offense? Yeah, sure.
Or even Justin Ross.
But how? Come on, everybody. He hasn't played NFL football yet. Like I think if he's unfair to anyone, it might be Sky Moore. It might be Clyde, but it might be Sky Moore. Like, oh, he failed to make an impact. Sky Moore wasn't here to make an impact last year. He made an impact in a punt return situation several times, and that was a bad impact. But that was more or less the expectation. Expectations are such a dangerous thing. It's the reason why people went from loving Clyde to hating Clyde to being agnostic towards him. It's the difference between expectations on Justin and John Ross. Like, John Ross had the top 10 pedigree, number 9, in fact, 1 spot ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Fun fact. He had the top 10 pedigree and the record-setting 40 at the Combine and all of that, but no one has any expectations for him. If the Chiefs cut Justin Ross and John Ross at the same time, 95% of the tweets will be about Justin because of the hype. It's just expectations.
It also is a little, I would be a little disrespected if I was Rashee Rice, mainly because of this line when it says, outside of Marquez Valdez-Scantling, it's a young group, there's a chance that Toney, Moore, or even Justin Ross emerges as a number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
And Rashee Rice is like, whoa, hey, I was just drafted in the second round. Justin Ross was injured all of last year and has been injured throughout his career. He's done nothing in the NFL. Neither have I. Toney and Moore, I get that. But why is he mentioned and not me?
No, that's fair.
Why is it or even Justin Ross? What about or even Rashee Rice, who was a big-time receiver for SMU and was a second-round draft pick in the draft recently? I'd be a little annoyed if I was Rashee Rice, but you know what? Go out and earn it. Go do it. Go prove people wrong, Rashee Rice, that you aren't just somebody that's it's going to take you a couple of years in Andy Reid's system to really figure this out.
I'm really curious also maybe eventually the Chiefs will give us Justin Ross at a presser or something, but I'm really curious about.
No, they'll just tweet out on him answering questions.
Yes.
On their Twitter handle.
On a hill somewhere.
Can you imagine how awesome it is that he is at answering questions? We're going to give you the highlights of this press conference from Justin Ross.
High knees, you can make that edit. I think that's the future. Yes. Chiefs TikTok is going to have a field day with Ross Talks? Ross Talks not TikRok? No, Ross Talks is better. Your Justin Ross Talk, I would love to hear him, and really I'd love to know the truth and not to make him try to relay this to us, but I'd love to know how involved he was in the offense and in the meetings and in the playbook and everything last year, because if he got no physical reps but was soaking up the offense for a year and saying, hey man, you get a year to study and then your test begins in St. Joe next year, that would, I think, move him. That might put him neck and neck for my expectations for him and Rashee Rice. Where they would be relatively similar, which is that not very much, but I can see the path for it.
When was it announced that he was having surgery?
right before cutdowns, I think, right? It was a real convenient timing.
Yeah, because it was, you didn't have to try to sneak him through.
No, it was July 25th.
So it was early.
It was early.
So it was before training camp then?
Yeah. Oh, they snuck that in there.
Okay. So it was before training camp.
Yeah, July 25th.
The reason I thought it was a little bit earlier is because I was thinking of this last week, that when training camp opens up, it's going to be all eyes on Justin Ross. People are going to be watching Justin Ross closer than they ever have as Chiefs fans that are hearing this myth and seeing small little snippets and highlights that are, tweeted out on social media by the Chiefs and by some media members that get an opportunity. Like when rookie minicamp and voluntary OTAs are going on and the media can be there for 10 minutes and it's like, hey, here's Rashee Rice in uniform. Oh, hey, look, Justin Ross is in uniform like this last year. But then when it's open to the public and you can go there and watch every practice that's outside. Sometimes they have to move it inside because of weather. But you can watch every practice that's outside. And then there's no hiding or clipping here's the one cool thing from Justin Ross. We're not going to mention that he had 4 drops.
Right.
I don't know if that happened, but that's all. He's going to be watched closely to see, is the hype real? Are we seeing what we want to see? Or does he just simply blend in with the other receivers that are there and there isn't this, wow, he looks different? Because the people talking about somebody looking different at mandatory minicamp that was open to all the media members the whole time was a guy named Ross, but it was John Ross. That looked different. Like, wow, him running, you see the speed. There's fast wide receivers on the field there with the Chiefs or in the NFL, and then he looks different doing that. Like, there's a level of fast. College baseball, there's some phenomenal baseball, some of the best baseball players in the world, because, come on, if you're playing college baseball, you're one of the best baseball players in the world. And these guys, you got some first-round draft pick pitchers, and then you got Paul Skeens up there throwing one-on-one, making it look like he's just out throwing some batting practice.
Yep.
That's different.
Yep.
There's some guys that are pumping in 98, 99. He's throwing one-on-one, 101, and it just looks different. Like, that was the talk about a Ross at the minicamp was, John Ross' speed looks a little different. Like that, I can see why. Like he gets the ball and he scoots, man. We'll find out when you get to training camp, where these guys are. He'll have opportunities as long as he's healthy. He'll have a chance in preseason games and working with the ones and things like that. He'll have a chance this year to earn a job, or he won't. And we move on and we find who's going to be playing wide receiver for the Chiefs this year. And as long as number 15 is taking snaps behind the offensive line, I feel good about whoever is running those routes, as long as, 87's out there too. But I feel good about who's running the routes. And if it's Justin Ross, great. That means that he's earned it. If it's not, okay, somebody else earned it over him. Let's go play football.
And here, just to kind of clean up the process of how everything went with Ross, because it was all behind closed doors, because whatever happened was before camp. Andy Reid had said at the time, it was a little bit from the surgery that he had before. That was the foot injury that derailed us last year at Clemson. Quote, it was bothering him. It wasn't working quite the way he wanted, so they went in and redid it. We're hoping that this works out well. So it's not like a complete sneaky red shirt like somebody a few years back had like a finger injury right before cutdowns that knocked him out the whole year. It might have been one of the quarterbacks. I can't remember who it was, but it was one of those guys like, Tyler Bray broke a fingernail and he's on IR. Weird. But it was to try to solve the issue that never really got solved out of Clemson, which has nothing to do with the spine issue and everything else that that plagued him at Clemson. I'd be tickled to see him just stealing the show in St. Joe. I just think putting expectations like that on a guy who hasn't even made it to St. Joe yet is a dangerous game to play.
Yeah, and so the Chiefs showed up to camp on Friday. Andy Reid held a press conference, and that's when he announced Ross had foot surgery. So right as they got there, it's like, don't worry about seeing him at camp. Speaking of wide receivers and a connection with the Chiefs, we'll take a break. On the other side, CBS Sports' Cody Benjamin ranked his top 25 players under the age of 25, or top 25 under 25. So, you can be 25. You get the point. So we'll go through that. And
top 25 NFL players 25 and under. It's not quite as sexy.
Yes, 30 under 30, 40 under 40, whatever. But he ranked those 1 through 25. Creed Humphrey showed up at number 11, which is cool. But I actually have a a bigger takeaway on what could be a tie into the Chiefs and if they're starting on a path of where the zigging is going to happen soon in the NFL and personnel building for a team. We'll talk about that coming up next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
25, excuse me, top 25 that are 25 and under were in the NFL. And I told you that, Creed Humphrey came in at number 11, which is, pretty legit for a center. It would have been perfectly understandable if Cody Benjamin made his list, got 1 through 24, and then said, you know what, Creed Humphrey's really good, and even though he's a center, I got to include him on this list somewhere. So Creed Humphrey makes the top 25 players that are 25 and under. But he came in at number 11, like just outside of the top 10, meaning how legit it is that Cody Benjamin feels about Creed Humphrey at number 11. And so you go through these, and number 1 is Justin Jefferson. Number 2 being Bosa.
Jalen Hurts number 2.
Number 2
Nick
Hurts.
Bosa being 3.
And Micah Parsons number 4. So you've got wide receiver, a quarterback, defensive end / outside linebacker. Then you get Jamar Chase and Justin Herbert, Sauce Gardner, Patrick Surtain, Tristan Wirfs, CeeDee Lamb, Creed Humphrey, Trevor Lawrence. You start going through these names, and when you get through 25 of them, something stood out to me that can be connected to the Chiefs in a way. And here's what stood out. So of the 25 players, 19 of them were on offense. Only 6 of them on defense. There were 3 cornerbacks. Number 7 overall, Sauce. Number 8 overall, Patrick Surtain. And number 13 overall, Trevon Diggs. There were 2 defensive and outside linebackers that came in at 3 and 4, Bosa and then Parsons. There was 1 defensive tackle, Quinnen Williams, that came in at number 18. 1 center on the offense, 19. 1 center, Creed Humphrey. 2 running backs, Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs, coming in at 15 and 16. 3 offensive tackles, Tristan Wirfs at number 9, Rashawn Slater at 19, Penei Sewell at number 22. 4 quarterbacks, Hurts at number 2, Herbert number 6, Trevor Lawrence at number 12, and Justin Fields at number 25. That's 16 players of the 25. 9 wide receivers in the top 25 aged 25 and under. More than a third of every player he came up with was a wide receiver. Justin Jefferson, number 1. Jamar Chase, number 5. CeeDee Lamb, 10. Jalen Waddle, 14. DK, 17. Garrett Wilson, 20. Devontae Smith, 21. T. Higgins, 23. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 24. You've got tackles here. You've got defensive tackles. Defensive tackle. You've got cornerbacks, edge. You've got all these different positions, right? And what dominates is the wide receiver. Also, there's 3 other wide receivers on the honorable mention list: Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, and Christian Watson. And there's 2 wide receivers that made the list of just too old, of barely too old: A.J. Brown and DJ Moore. That's throwing 5 more players in there, along with the 9 that he listed of the 25. And how I relate it to the Chiefs is this continues to be something that I wonder if the bubble bursts for wide receivers. That not that it's going to be running backs where you churn and burn them and you don't want to pay a running back, and we'll see what Dalvin Cook ends up getting if he ends up in Miami. Tom Pelissero reported there are multiple offers on the table for Dalvin Cook right now. He may wait until training camp. He may even wait until August to sign with the team. We'll see what happens with Dalvin Cook. But he thinks he's going to get paid. So Tom Pelissero thinks with the offers out there that Dalvin Cook's going to get some money. Okay. Team might view him as the last piece of the puzzle. Miami Dolphins could be a great fit. I wonder if there comes a time with the influx of all of the younger wide receivers and how much talent there is at wide receiver across college and in the NFL, and how saturated it is, to where it used to be if you were the best athlete on your high school team, you played quarterback because you weren't running spread offenses. You weren't throwing the ball around. Now, if you want to play wide receiver as a 12-year-old, you're a wide receiver. You can go and play 7-on-7. You're getting all those reps. You're playing wide receiver. Wide receivers are more skilled entering the NFL now than they have ever been. You're not learning how to play the position at the NFL level. You've learned how to play the position through junior high and high school and college. And I wonder if we get to the point with so many guys that are quote-unquote difference makers out on the field that it starts to lower the price. And if it's better to then say, well, we got a quarterback that can make other guys better. And if across the league so many of these guys are doing those things, if we spend our resources elsewhere and people are spending $30 million on a wide receiver, Justin Jefferson's going to get Tyreek Hill money. Jamar Chase is going to get more than Jefferson and Chase are going to get more than Tyreek Hill money. Tyreek Hill did not Aaron Donald this to where it's like, yeah, nobody's going to get that. Even the best are going to come in just below that. No. Tyreek Hill set what the next guy who's the best in the league is going to get. Justin Jefferson will get more than Tyreek Hill. Jamar Chase will get more than Tyreek Hill. I don't know about CeeDee Lamb and those guys and Waddle. You're talking about two of the premier difference makers in the NFL. So those guys matter. But if you don't have a Tyreek or a Jefferson or a Chase, do you want to pay 28 for CeeDee Lamb? Do you want to pay 26, 27 for Jalen Waddle? Or would you rather have second-rounder Sky Moore, second-rounder Rashee Rice, Kadarius Toney? Obviously, if I said, would you rather have Sky Moore or Jalen Waddle? Yeah, I'll take Jalen Waddle. But when you're talking about roster construction in a salary-capped league, you do get into the discussion of what's a better use of resources. Having Patrick Mahomes gives the Chiefs a different level to make the decision as opposed to Minnesota with Kirk Cousins. You lose Justin Jefferson, good luck at that point. Okay, you need Justin Jefferson. But the Chiefs have gone the route last year, and so far, unless they sign DeAndre Hopkins, this year of saying, we're going depth. We've got an offensive line in front of Patrick Mahomes. We've got Mahomes. We've got a premier tight end that isn't making $30 million. The wide receivers are getting that money. Tight ends aren't. And we're going to make those guys better, and we're going to spend our money elsewhere, not $28 million on wide receiver. Even though they wanted to with Tyreek Hill. They wanted to. But now that they won a Super Bowl, does that change Brett Veach's mindset of really how to go about it? And do I need and have to have a premier receiver that after I traded Tyreek Hill on draft day, I tried to trade for A.J. Brown?
Yeah, and so, I mean, I think we've seen what the Chiefs think, which is that we're willing to pay for that. I think we're going to end up not really being able to answer that question until Travis Kelce's gone, which I hope is in 5,000 years, not a moment sooner.
2052.
It's a little early for me, but we can figure that out. But like because they do have a number one receiver.
Absolutely
and they do have like a top 5 weapon in football. But I am very interested in the next evolution of this, which I think is appropriately summed up in the 2004 film The Incredibles. When everyone's super, no one will be. And if the NFL is filled with superheroes at wide receiver, if you've got
Dash that said that,
that was Syndrome. That's a very villainous thing to say, man. You got to know that one. If you end up in a world where there are 30 receivers within striking distance of, maybe you're not Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb, but maybe you are Jalen Waddle, who's a darn good receiver. As
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown's a great example.
4th round pick.
Calvin Ridley was a higher pick, but then just got, obviously the gambling stuff, but got moved for less.
T. Higgins, Chiefs didn't have a chance to draft him.
No,
but
let's take a break.
Right? They didn't.
Let's take a break. I gotta go yards.
Dang it, they did. T. Higgins was a 2nd round pick.
You will see guys in that range, and so it's really interesting to see if that middle class develops, kind of like with quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's 15 elite guys, which we might be close to, and then 15 that range from, let's say, Jalen Waddle to T. Higgins and everything in between that's not quite the absolute best of the best, what's the difference in that group? And then what is the difference from that middle expensive group to your rookie 2nd round picks that you're kind of constantly churning through? With the Chiefs, I think they can cheat the test because they have Patrick Mahomes and they have Travis Kelce. So they have a legit number 1 pass catcher and the best quarterback currently living. But outside of that, if you're other teams trying to learn these lessons, I would be fascinated by it. And I am really interested in the receiving market. I understand why the Chiefs moved on from Tyreek Hill. I think it worked out okay, all things considered. But I also don't want them to fully just say, Mahomes will figure it out. Here's Sky Moore and Marcus Kemp and Justin Watson. Have fun.
Yeah, that's a different level. Like there are levels to all of this, and really it's just a matter of as the years progress, if more and more wide receivers that are good continue to enter the league, and a guy like I don't even know, I don't want to come up with a name like. Devontae Smith was a top 10 pick, so it's hard to say like a guy like Devontae Smith, who is a really great separator in the NFL and catches everything, and he's a phenomenal receiver. But if you get guys that are close to him, late 1st, 2nd round, you got more and more of those guys.
His team traded for one of the top 15 guys.
Yeah, absolutely. You get more and more of those guys. Like, you wonder if that becomes, no, we'll spend some second-round picks on them,
right,
but we're not giving second contracts to these guys like we're not giving second contracts to running backs. I'll spend a third or fourth rounder on a running back, but then I'm going to find another one.
It's another bursty position, too. Like the burst that you have. Tyreek Hill's second contract was not the problem, but his third contract was looking kind of spooky by the very end.
But his second contract was coming off that 2019 offseason, right?
Yeah,
where they
fair.
were all sort of coming together and saying, okay, this is team friendly, but also you get taken care of. And
let me sanitize it to the monetary aspects of it. You weren't concerned about Tyreek Hill's body falling apart. In his second contract.
That's a good point, yeah.
But at the end of this one with the Dolphins is going to be kind of scary.
And it may not be worried about the body falling apart like you are with running backs, because there's one running back typically that's going to be on the field for a team, and there can be three wide receivers out there.
Losing a step, I guess.
Yeah. But if you've got three wide receivers out there and one running back, it's like, okay, do the running backs become more valuable because there's only one guy on the field for this one, and if he starts to lose a step or whatever, whereas, the wide receiver, maybe not even the body breaking down or losing a step. Maybe I'm not paying $25 million for him because I've got these guys over here that are close to what he is, and he's still on a rookie deal. Or I'm going to take this guy in the second round who's going to be on a rookie deal for 4 years, and I'm going to take those millions, and I'm going to spend it somewhere else where we aren't getting oversaturated with the number of players that it used to be true difference makers at the top, which there still are.
Right.
But it felt like there was a drop-off. Felt like there was a gap. Now it feels like that middle class has really moved up.
There's a lot more of a slope than a cliff to fall off of.
Yes, absolutely. The middle class is now really freaking good at playing wide receiver.
You say there are levels to it, right? And I think now the question is where will those levels settle? Like what are the levels, and then how deep are those inclines? Because if you're asking, would I rather have an offense that has 3 guys in the upper middle class, or A.J. Brown and 3 dudes on rookie deals you're waiting to see about still, I would take option A there, which I think is kind of how the Chiefs are sort of adjusting now. But interestingly, you talk about that 25-year cutoff. The Chiefs' top 3 wide receivers by snaps taken last year were all over 25 because it's MVS, Juju, and Justin Watson. Obviously, Sky Moore was next, and Hardman is close. Like last year, he would have been under 25. It's interesting to see them they skew older at wide receiver, too.
They didn't give Mecole Hardman a second contract, though.
That's right.
They let him walk.
That's right.
Will they give Sky Moore a second contract? Will they give Rashee Rice a second contract?
Kadarius Toney.
Yeah. Will they give Kadarius Toney a second contract? They gave Marquez Valdez-Scantling his second contract, but that wasn't a guy looking for Christian Kirk $19, $20 million a year.
Right.
He got the, 3 for 30?
It's about a 10-10-10-ish kind of deal that they can get out of if they want to at any point.
Right. And so, you gave $30 million to this guy for 3 years, and he offers something, and you needed that when you traded Tyreek Hill. So he filled a role at a discounted rate because you got a discounted player from Tyreek Hill. So you're filling those different roles of what one guy was able to do in Tyreek Hill. But you take that $30 million cap hit of next year, and you say, okay, so Tyreek Hill offered you this. Okay, well, we got these guys that offer us this, and this, that we can come close to the production of Tyreek Hill. Only that's costing us $8 total million against the cap. And we're going to take that $22 million that we would be paying for Tyreek Hill and spread it out. And now 1 through 53, we are better, or 2 through 53, we are better with this group of receivers and where we use the resources that we have left over, rather than Tyreek Hill and what 2 through 53 looks like there. That's the decision. That's the question of building the personnel, because it's not like baseball where you just, we'll pay the luxury tax. Right. Well, okay, we're going to pay $450 million this year if you're the Padres for this team. Well, the payroll's not $450. No, but the luxury tax on luxury tax on luxury tax ends up being like $400 million they're going to pay this year for that team that is struggling and looking in the mirror and going, we just lost to the Nationals. They're the Nationals. Which was something that Xander Bogaerts said. We can't lose to the Nationals. And he's right. You can't be the Padres and lose to the Nationals. His point was, no offense to them, they fight hard. They're not trying to make the playoffs this year. We are. So he cleared it up. But when you take it out of context, it's fun.
It's a blast. I can't believe the Royals haven't been a come-to-Jesus moment for some other team this year.
I think Rays fans were saying that when the Royals
That's a good call.
Took 2 of the first 3. Like, we're losing to the Royals. The hell's The Orioles are winning. We're losing the Royals. What is going on here? But it's also the Rays with still the best record in baseball, not the Padres, who are falling further and further back in a division they were supposed to win, in a league they were supposed to win, and maybe go to the World Series, and the Padres. But when you've got a capped league, it's about how you spend those resources. Mahomes is going to be more and more. I'm just fascinated to see with the influx of talent at wide receiver and more coming. I don't think that's going to stop. I don't think there's going to be now this moat, this abyss, this dark space of years where you're not going to see some of these high-end wide receivers come into the league. And when you've got some teams that already have high-end wide receivers, doesn't that then naturally move those other wide receivers down the draft board? If it's like you're in the top 10, well, we've already got, Olave.
Right.
Are we going to spend our top 10 pick on Marvin Harrison? We're going to do that? Or are we going to?
If not, you should let the Chiefs have him.
Yes. Like, I don't know 5 years from now, I don't know what the market's going to look like. I don't know if the bubble is going to burst for wide receiver contracts. And I don't know if wide receivers are going to slide down first rounds because so many people have found them, or there's so many good upper level middle class players that would you rather spend that first rounder on a hard to find true difference making edge or an offensive tackle or a cornerback that are not entering the league at a dime a dozen or anything like that? Would you rather spend those premium draft picks on those premium positions and a little further down on a wide receiver? Because, of the 25 players, 16 make up every single position in the NFL except one, and 9 of those make up wide receiver. And it's one man's opinion, so there might be others out there.
I'm looking at all sorts of different receiver rankings and stuff again now, trying to figure out where exactly that line gets drawn. And I'm looking at one from like earlier last year, and DeAndre Hopkins is still in the great number 1 section. Is that still true? I don't know, but it's the names and faces that get around that bubble are so interesting.
And as you look at that, I bet you start to see that's very quickly skewing young, right? Like guys that have been drafted in the last 3-4 years.
That 2021 class is crazy. Because I'm with you that I think we're going to keep seeing wide receivers be a premium position, and then more kids are going to play it, and so you're going to be playing at an early age and a higher level, all of that. But we did see a little bit of a step back just in terms of like expectations for receivers. From this year's draft class and a little bit last year too, right? But this 2021 class, man, it's Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle back to back. Devontae Smith went 10 and won the Heisman. I mean, Kadarius Toney went 20. He's the best receiver in that group. Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore.
And remember when Justin Jefferson went, like, you traded Stephon Diggs to go and get Justin Jefferson. Like, he's a good player, but he's not even the best player on his wide receiver team, a guy that's going to be drafted next year. Okay, good luck. Jefferson's really, really good. So kudos to the Vikings.
The Titans were like, hey, you know what? A.J. Brown to Treylon Burks? That should be easy. It worked out great for Minnesota.
Sounds like Diggs to Jefferson to me.
Yeah.
Sounds like the same thing.
This drafting stuff's easy.
The position's going to be really fascinating to watch over the next 4 or 5 years. And unless they go and get DeAndre Hopkins, it's essentially back-to-back years that either they chose or circumstances had them enter a season without that number 1 true difference-making high-end wide receiver. Not necessarily a playmaker, because they have that in Kelsey, which gives them the luxury of not having that high-end number 1 wide receiver because Kelsey is there. But if there's no Hopkins and they go in next year and take sort of the same approach, you start to look at a mindset of Brett Veach of saying, protect Mahomes, put good depth around him, build the defense, and we're going to have a top 5 offense every single year. No matter who he's throwing the football to, we don't need to spend $30 million on one wide receiver. Yeah. We'll see where it goes. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. WHB.
Say hi to your mother for me.
913-912-4810. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Text says, after hearing about Little Man's pitching routine, he definitely isn't allowed to pitch at the Little K either. So, that's a great point. It's a good point. Text says, and this goes back to Bill Barnwell saying the limp style of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Text says, looks like we finally figured out how to fix Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Get him in touch with Bluma and Grundy. Chew it and do it. He will blue chew right through the defensive line.
Did Dylan give that an ovation? I heard clapping from back there.
That was just the listeners.
Oh, yeah, just thunderous applause seeping through.
Applause.
From around the city.
And this one, going into what we just talked about, said part of the reason wide receivers are all over the top 25 list, fantasy football effect. It's the position that scores fantasy points. I mean, it could be, but Creed Humphrey's number 11.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they're all over the top 25, but like if we look through 1 through 25, number 1 is wide receiver, number 2 is quarterback, number 3 is defensive end, number 4 is defensive end, number 5 is wide receiver, number 6 quarterback, number 7 is cornerback, number 8 cornerback, number 9 is offensive tackle. Right? Number 10 is wide receiver.
It's just where the game's at right
Number
now.
11 is Creed Humphrey. Yeah, there are a lot of wide receivers, but if it was like specific to fantasy football and things like that, I don't know that it would be. Creed Humphrey wouldn't be on the list.
And
I
was shocked to find out that Josh Jacobs is 25 years old. Absolutely floored. It feels like he's been in the league for. I know he's on the franchise tag right now. It feels like he's been in the league for 10 years.
You and I agree on that. I saw Josh Jacobs and I'm like,
is he 14 when he got drafted?
What now? But huh? What? Tex says, I think it's just because there's an elite young group of wide receivers in the league right now. I think it's appropriate, not bias.
Yeah.
You shut up over there.
Oh, is that from... Reed, stop texting the text line, man.
I was like, oh,
That's
yeah.
a stupid take.
I like to sometimes look through the texts as I'm reading them with the other ones. I'm like, oh, yeah, he got the .4 WAR batting and .4... Wait a minute. Won't you shut up, intern?
We have a very strict no talking to us during the breaks rule for the interns here, and so the only way they can get contributions through is to just shoot the text line.
913-912-4810. I do like this text from to our own personal phones.
Good.
It says, Justin Ross, LOL.
Reed, stop texting our personal numbers, man. I'm not going to add your contact.
Again, I'm just going to call you Dylan the intern. Everybody's named Dylan around here.
Got a lot of Dylans.
That's true. Dylan Schaefer
Dylan
next.
Schaefer next.
Hey, KC, this is Jack Johnson from The Shift on ESPN Kansas City to tell you about the law firm of Garrettson and Toff. They handle the most complex felony, federal, or state...
tweet at you to try to get you to unfollow me, but you've muted me along the way, haven't you? I'm the mute button where I've just been tweeting at you and you have no idea.
Yeah, no, I've totally seen all of those, Jason. Oh my God, dozens, hundreds. Oh, Jason, these are unhinged.
I have. I ended up muting a lot of people with the whole soccer capital of the United States.
Really, that was a big event for you.
A lot of people from St. Louis that I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna mute. I don't even care about.
Did you follow from St. Louis?
No, that were replying to the conversation. I'm just like, I'm tired of this conversation. Just mute. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Mick doesn't even know how to check his mentions.
I'm going to mute the conversation, and I'm going to mute individual people as well. I don't care. You guys can tweet at me and say whatever you want. I don't care. I'm moving on. I'm just going to go and have my son go throw 55 more pitches off the mound. Curveballs this time. Just to get his arm in shape, to get him stretched out because, tournament coming up.
Can't have him get into the major league level. Still needing to get stretched out.
Just joking. We were talking about how, Jordan Lyles has made, $60 million?
Gonna cross 50 next year when he gets.
So that's what I said. So from now on, I'm just going to simply only let my son throw baseballs.
Yeah,
that's
never
all
miss
he's going
a pitching
to do.
lesson, kids. Okay,
all he's going to do is just throw baseballs
with your left arm too. It's not too late.
I'm going to
be
force
lefty.
him to be left-handed. Whatever. Just as long as he's throwing baseballs, and then when he gets to the big leagues. He can pay me back with a lot of money.
Hitting seems harder than pitching anyway. Like, why would you go that route when you could just be a pitcher?
Hitting's way harder than pitching.
It's impossible. You ever see those cameras, from like the umpire's perspective? Nonsense. They're supposed to hit 102.
That's the whole deal. You have a coach tell the pitchers, "Hey, baseball's hard. Throw strikes." Okay?
Yeah.
Don't nibble. Right? It's hard to hit one. It's hard to hit a meatball down the middle, right?
Yeah.
Groove one. I don't care.
And you know what? It's kind of frustrating, too, because you've got back-to-back at-bats for Bobby Witt in the game that hits a ball 100 miles an hour right at the right fielder. And then in the ninth inning, you got Bo Naylor who reaches out and hits one off the end of the bat to right field, and that starts what ends up being the first of 2 runs they get.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's baseball. It sounds like Bobby Witt is dumb for hitting it all the way to the right fielder. Don't hit it that far.
That was tough. The Fighting Nailers taking down Kansas City and the Blue Valley kid, Will Brennan.
I know.
Delivering there. I'm like, it's bittersweet. I'm happy for him. He had a great night. But I'm like, get you have a great night. The Royals win 3-2.
That'd be cool. I'd mentioned it at the beginning of the show that just I don't know, lament more if you're into that whole sort of thing, whatever. That with Will Brennan last night, and totally happy for him. Blue Valley kid, went to K-State. It's really cool getting his opportunity now with the big league club. But 2019 draft, he was an 8th rounder. And I was joking in the first hour of like, remember when Dayton was like, we're going to scout our backyard, and our backyard's going to be the backyard, and we're going to backyard this and scouting backyard, and pools ain't gonna ever happen again because we're scouting backyards and backyards and backyards. Your backyard, Mick, they've actually got a scout back there just in case. It's a dog named Scout, but they're scouting everybody's backyard.
It's my dog's name. It's Scout in the backyard.
Well, got, so the catcher from Park Hill.
Yeah, they got Carter Jensen. They got Ben Kudrna.
And he's been good.
Yep, the last couple of years. Into 2019, this is not where it's like 2019 was a terrible draft. They got Bobby Witt number 2. They got Michael Massey in the 4th round. They got Vinny Pasquantino in the 11th round. So they did fine. If you're looking at finding some guys and diamonds in the rough, etc. The place where I lamented was like, see if there's a theme. Now understand that Will Brennan was a college hitter, so a college player at K-State. See if there's a theme of what the Royals were drafting in 2019. So Colleyville, Texas High School, Bobby Witt. University of Florida, Arizona State, Oregon State, University of Illinois, Illinois State, Penn State, University of Virginia, Florida State, Indiana State, Coastal Carolina, Old Dominion, University of Evansville, Alabama Birmingham, UCLA, University of Houston, Vanderbilt University, University of USC, University of Central Arkansas, Rowan College of South Jersey. Sure.
What?
Those were the picks after Bobby Witt.
Oh, so first baseman then.
No, just all college.
Oh, okay. No, I know.
God darn it. I hate you so
much. I picked up the theme. It was outfielders.
I hate you so much. Hold on. I got the theme. It's guys whose first name starts with J. Starts with J. So, little aside, little nugget that they were all over college players. Just not somebody in their own backyard.
He pitched some in college, I want to say. Brennan did. But we had somebody talk with him yesterday. He really struggled 19 and 20 through COVID, and he talked about the organization believed in him, and they put a lot of effort into figuring out his swing, and he came out in 21 and had a great minor league year. 22 last year, makes the big leagues.
Yep.
Plays in the playoffs
for
the Guardians, and now is not only a regular for the second place team in the AL Central, but one of their best hitters now. I mean, he's been on a tear lately this last month.
I'm going through, and I just want to look through this. So he's got a 1.5 WAR so far in his career, and I just want to see when
he would have a negative 0.5 WAR if he was with the Royals. I just know it just wouldn't have worked out.
Hunter Brown, pitcher for the Astros, has a 2.2. He was drafted in the 5th round, so there you go. That's how far you go until you get somebody with a higher WAR. But after Hunter Brown, from that draft,
what's Bobby at?
Bobby Witt is he's got to be at I think he's at like a 1 or 2 this year alone. So Bobby Witt is at a 1.9.
Okay.
So Will Brennan's a 1.5 in his career. Bobby Witt's a 1.9. But it's not like they missed out on much by winning a number of games in 2018 to not get the number 1 pick, because Adley Rutschman's WAR is only 7. So Bobby Witt's is 1.9. So it's not that big of a deal. So it's all good in the hood.
No WAR could go that high.
But you know what? Here's what's also interesting.
Good God, y'all. WAR.
What is it good for?
Definitely not radio.
Telling you who is good at baseball. This is interesting because it's in the news right now. The highest WAR of that draft so far in their career.
It's not Rutschman?
It is not Adley Rutschman. It's Alek Manoah, who just gave up 11 runs to 18-year-olds yesterday in the rookie Florida League because he's been so bad at the big leagues. He got sent back down. Then not only getting optioned, they sent him down to the Florida League at extended spring training against rookies and the Yankees team, a bunch of 18-year-old kids on there. He gave up 11 runs in 2 innings.
He's got the highest WAR?
7.7.
You guys,
how does that happen?
You don't have,
because he has been awesome the last couple of years. Then this year he's just Rick Ankiel'd it. Like he just cannot get anybody out.
In the sports department at 41, you don't have a TV just constantly on a rookie-level Florida complex league?
We did. We had to make some cuts in the budget.
Didn't pay the bills.
Get rid of it.
11 runs over 2 2/3 inning in his first appearance.
We now have one of the scouts NBA G League practices.
Good for you.
So
Good. There you go.
Yeah.
But don't worry, those were a lot of Major League Baseball players, right?
Yeah, no, I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot of these names getting traded for Aroldis Chapman very soon.
Yes. You know what? Fine. Whatever. See what happens. But that is fascinating. Alek Manoah is a 7.7 WAR.
They don't even get a fun name like a regular minor league team. They're just the FCL Blue Jays.
He has a 7.7 WAR and a 6.4 ERA this year. So
and maybe
he's actually lost 1.2 this year.
And maybe Brennan was picking up on Scott Barlow throwing the exact same pitch every time.
Could be. Could be.
Maybe that's part of it, too.
Yes. That is, we talked with Monty, and Monty was talking about, I was like, well, unfortunately, you get a guy hits one off the end of the bat, and he's like, yeah, you do. He's like, but when they know you're only throwing breaking pitches, you can get out there and reach and go a little bit further down than you would to be able to get off the end of the bat because you don't have to worry about fastball. Everything that's coming in is breaking down towards the dirt.
It's down and into every lefty.
So if I'm out in front, I don't have to worry about that thing staying straight. I know it's going down towards, so I can reach out a little bit more, hit it off the end of the bat, and now it's into right field. If you got to worry about fastball, you may think that thing may stay up, and now all of a sudden it's bending down.
Yeah,
and
why
I don't
didn't they have to worry about fastball?
They haven't had to worry about it the last 2 times for Scott Barlow. 47 pitches the last 2 outings and only 3 fastballs out of 47 pitches.
Hurt?
I hope not.
Don't say that. We can ask that after the trade deadline.
I wonder if it's a confidence thing that last night he just didn't have confidence in his fastball at all, that my slider and curve, it's what I work off of anyway, and I'm just going to keep pumping those in there until I walk Jimenez and then give up the double to Brennan, which it's unfortunate, kind of unlucky that the ball is right there on the line and Prado can't get to it. Inside the bag, yet right outside Prado's glove. Like there's about 3 inches of space for that to happen.
Can we talk about maybe the best catch or throw out I've ever seen last night from the other nailer?
Can we talk about how slow Nick Prado is apparently?
Nicky Lopez.
Nick Prado would have been thrown out too. But how slow Nicky Lopez is?
I was wondering what happened there?
I don't know.
There's no way he should have been thrown out.
I think he's been thrown out more this year than he was all of last year. Is that right? I'll double check
twice
that.
in last night's game.
Someone threw a 360 spin, no scope, just gunned down. Just gunned down.
It was
most
phenomenal.
catchers don't even try at that point.
He had a game breaker at that point.
Turn around,
queued up,
It was
and make a throw.
It was unbelievable.
At that point, the best strategy for the Royals was to let that pitcher just keep throwing the baseball, whether it was trying to get a guy out at home or just doing a pitch out or not a pitch out or just walking dudes.
That's right. It was a pitch out.
It was a pitch out. That's why it spun him around.
That's right, because he had to reach all the way back across the plate.
It's the rare pitch out bailout combo.
Well, the umpire had been calling the high strike, so I'm a little surprised he did not call that one a strike. It was a high strike. So the NHL draft going on down in Nashville.
Mick, you ready for this? This topic? You been prepped for this?
Thank God.
I have no idea what this is going to be about.
So,
I know I do.
You do.
We talked about it.
break.
Sorry. Yeah, I was ready for Mick's number one pick breakdown.
The Tennessee Titans nailed the schedule release.
Oh, yeah.
They killed it with the schedule release, with the talking to people on the streets of Nashville as to what team is this, and it was the Cowboys a couple of times, and it was the Colts or whatever. And then it was the RAR, like the
Falcons,
Red Hawk RAR thingies.
Red Stallions, I believe.
Red Stallions are. Radio station went around Nashville to get the man on the street to see how much fans know about the 2023 NHL draft. And so they talked to a guy by the name of Kyle Davidson, who just happens to be the GM of the Blackhawks, who's just walking around Nashville with a red T-shirt on, a backwards black cap, snapback, and walk around, and they stop him like, "Hey, sir, do you have some time?" Like, yeah. So they talked to him about what he knows about hockey.
Oh, what's your name and where are you from?
Kyle from Chicago.
From Chicago?
Yeah.
You just visiting?
Yeah.
You ever been to Nashville before?
A couple times, yeah.
For a Blackhawks fan?
Yeah.
All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not a lot and 10 being a whole lot, how much would you say you know about hockey?
Probably like, I didn't play professionally or anything, so probably like a 4.
Oh, wow, okay.
Fan of the sport, I don't know. Some people say I don't know that much, so.
Okay.
Name as many hockey players as you can in 20 seconds is what it says on the video.
Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Jonathan Taves, Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith, Brett Seabrook, Corey Crawford, Nicholas Chalmerson, Johnny Oduya.
Naming a bunch of Blackhawk players.
Michael Roosevelt, Brian Bickle, Dave Boland, Nick Foligno, Taylor Hall, Andreas Athanasiou, Connor Murphy, Seth Jones.
Anytime. That was great. There were some good names in there. Brian Bickle and what was that? Roosevelt? Was that in there?
Yeah, big Hawks fan.
Yeah, most of the 2010 or 2013 Chicago Blackhawks. Were you watching that team?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
What is one change you would make to the NHL right now?
I don't know. I think it's pretty awesome. I don't really have a specific change. I love the game, love where it's at, love the players that are in the game, and it's all good to me.
An honest question. Do you think that the league rigged the draft in favor of the Chicago Blackhawks?
No.
Pretty confident.
I'm very confident.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's pretty good.
I'm very confident.
Very confident.
About a 4. I don't know. I didn't play professionally, but people say I don't know what I'm talking about. But I don't know much about hockey, which was pretty good. So sometimes you run into somebody that does know what they're talking about. He just starts naming off a bunch of Blackhawks. And the guy sitting there is like, I don't know these names.
No way. Good names in there.
Some good names. Was there like a Ralta of some? That's pretty cool. Like, did you watch those 2010, 2013 Blackhawks teams? Yeah, cool, man. That's cool. That's awesome. It's always fun. Man on the street, Mick, how many have you done?
I've done too many. I hate doing man on the streets.
Yeah.
Whenever I do it, and if it's like Kansas City or even on a trip, and I know people there, I will say, hey, come do it. I put plants. I'll plant people in there, and that's how I get my content. I hate bothering people. Here's the funny thing about TV. When you're on and you don't want other people on, that's when they want to be on.
That's true.
When you actually want other people to talk and be on, they don't want to be on.
Dude, that's so right. We were at a watch party for Northwest Missouri State National Championship, and you were there. You came there with you had your cameraman, and you were like, "Hey, dude."
How long ago was this?
Gosh, 2007 or 8 or
wow.
9. It was before I moved to Louisville.
Okay.
And you were like, "Hey, man, I got to get a couple of interviews. Do you know anybody here that would want to do it?" Asked like 15 people. Finally, one person agreed to do it. Like, I'm just like, "Hey, you want to do an interview?" Like, no. But when you started recording, well, then people were like walking around like, "Hey, what's up, man?" Right, Northwest, what's up?
Yeah.
What's up, national champs? All right. Like, you just said you didn't want to be on TV, you jackass.
I don't remember anything about that.
It's one of the things that I tell my kids about often. I typically lead that.
Remember when Uncle Mickey went to the watch party?
I lead with that at parties, that story. So I'm glad it was as good for you as it was for me.
It was football, I take it?
It was the national championship of football.
Where was this at?
I can't remember what the place was. It was at a bar downtown. I can't remember which one it was.
Done too much. Done too much.
You've been to too many bars downtown doing a man on the street.
Yeah.
Can I be a plant in your next Man on the Street that
Absolutely.
you do? I'd love that.
Would they know that it's like...
Yeah, no, I need to figure out a way that we can make it work that I don't want to wear a disguise, but I can definitely go like incognito, unassuming. You can put an E at the end for the one time you're allowed to do that. You can put an E on the end of Brisco if you want.
I remember several years ago, a long time ago, I was supposed to go to the old 810 zone and do a man on the street about their NCAA tournament brackets. First day of the tournament. How do you feel like a bracket? I called like 20 friends. I'm like, hey, come, I'll buy some apps or whatever. And they, okay, I talked to all them. My brother was one of them there. And I swear he was just trying out material, but because he was like, all right, so how I pick my bracket, I take a look at all the team GPAs, and the lowest ones I take to the Final Four.
Actually, it's not a bad idea.
Pretty good.
I actually want to try that out.
But it backfired on Princeton.
I want to give it a good shot. Loyola, you'd have lost that one.
Lost that one.
Missed out on Loyola.
Duke's got some smarties, I guess. I don't know, but I feel like, Kentucky taking them, far.
I think you'd be in good shape.
What are you talking about? Are you serious?
With the Harvard of the Midwest.
My funniest on Monday was almost so Trey Mitchell committed to Kentucky. The West Virginia player put his name in the transfer portal, committed to Kentucky. He's from Pittsburgh, has known John Calipari a long time, apparently. Cal's a Pittsburgh guy, likes to say Jagoff a lot. And so, Pittsburgh guy.
Cal's from Pittsburgh?
Yeah. One of my funniest.
Kansas?
Yes. Isn't that crazy? He went to Pitt State, Gorilla.
There's the H on the end.
Oh, that's right. But he tweeted out after Trey Mitchell committed and said something along the lines of, I've known Trey for a long time, and the second he put his name in the portal is when we reached out to him and wanted to see his interest and everything. When he put his name in the portal is when you reached out. Not when Bob Huggins was immediately pulled over.
Yeah.
Before the news even got out, Cal was talking to Trey Mitchell. Before the news even... Somehow Calipari knew that Bob Huggins was pulled over.
Cal called the hypo on Huggins.
It's like, you put that in there for a reason, right?
Yeah.
You specifically included that in your tweet about this kid and knowing him for a long time. And as soon as he put his name in the portal, we reached out and wanted to get this connection. And he's just such a great kid, and we're so happy he's here in Lexington. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Sure, that's how it typically works. Oh, he's in the portal?
No
We
way.
just happened to be scrolling the portal that day. Just going through the portal, just scroll. It's a portal dex. It's like a Rolodex of portals.
Do you have his number? I don't know if I have his number anymore.
Yeah, wait.
Let me see. Let me type. He's right here.
You know Trey Mitchell. Yeah, I used to call him 3. But yeah, I know Trey Mitchell, yeah. He's in the portal. Let's give him a call.
I even told my buddy, I'm like, open up Wordle. And he thought I said per portal. And so that's how we were on it.
Yeah, it was so weird because I didn't know this whole thing at West Virginia was going on. Sad story, though, about that. But yes, we do expect him to play small forward and start for us.
His first 3 practices so far, he's looked really good with us. His first 3 practice? What?
He just committed yesterday.
We've already nudged our 8th guy out.
Yeah.
He's portaling out.
I just found out that guy's in the portal now, too. I had no idea he was
They're
going
the
to portal.
exact same size, play the same position, but measurables, Trey's a lot better.
Yeah, this guy's Deuce Mitchell, and so we upped the ante a little bit. We decided to improve at that spot, so we're just scrolling through the portal every day. I typically wake up at 8 o'clock, check the portal. Who's in there?
You can find, I do like when you're looking for those pieces like they did on the NFL draft, just to basically show, we live in this world where we just assume everybody knows so much about sports, except for Josh. And to get out of that bubble and just to basically, it's kind of, you're not really making people look dumb. You're just realizing, okay, we nerd out on this one specific subject. I did a Man on the Street at the 2002 Final Four in front of the Georgia Dome. And I asked all these passersby, these people walking, where's the Final Four being played? And over their shoulder was the Georgia Dome. Like, oh, man, I don't know this year. Is it Indianapolis? I don't know. I'm like, no, but you're close. It's played there a lot. And a lot of just basic questions to you and me that a lot of people struggle with.
Were you down in Houston?
Which year?
You ever been to Houston?
This year? I couldn't remember if you were. Todd and I went, but I don't remember a whole lot that went on there.
Wait, Houston for what?
Final Four this year.
No, because no local team.
I couldn't remember.
I was at the Super Bowl with you.
Yeah.
No, I was at New Orleans the year before.
Okay, great. That's right. So Todd and I were down in Houston, and they were talking about having, or just Gino Auriemma was asked about having the women's Final Four and the men's Final Four in the same city, and just blowing that whole thing out. And Gino was talking about, I was like, well, look, I mean, the Final Four is here, and it's what everybody's talking about. It takes over a city when the Final Four is in that spot, and yeah, it'd be great for all that stuff. And I'm sitting there talking to Todd, and I'm like, looking around Houston. If we weren't here for the Final Four, you wouldn't know it was in town. You would not have known the Final Four was there in Houston. I don't know what Gino Auriemma, and that's sort of in the bubble.
That's why all big events should go to market sizes 30 and below.
Do you know who knew the NFL draft was where in the city they were in? Every single human being in Kansas City. Yeah. There was no question.
But this in the bubble, Gino Auriemma was around everybody else in college basketball, and that's all they were doing, and going to conventions, and they were going to dinners, and they were seeing everybody, and it's all about the Final Four being there. But you leave the convention center where the coaches are staying in the hotels, it was nothing. Yeah. It was all about the Astros opening day that was going on. It was everything about the Astros opening day. It was about concerts, but people didn't even realize what the concerts were going. Like Megan Thee Stallion was there, but there was nothing around Megan Thee Stallion concert because the Final Four was in town. Like it just you wouldn't have known. And so I just when you said in the bubble of just this is all you know, and then outside of it you're like, wait a minute, this. I just remember Gino Auriemma was like, well, that's all everybody's talking about is the fun. I haven't seen anything. Whoa. I haven't seen a team's shirt on with random people walking around. In San Antonio, that's all you see.
All you see.
San Antonio is freaking amazing.
Kansas City this year, think about this year. We had regionals in the NCAA tournament. One was in Kansas City. One was in New York City. Mm-hmm. Right? It took over here. It was a huge deal here. The teams that arrived here were treated like kings. We had a crew in New York City. They're like, this was just what they were doing this week at Madison Square Garden, right? It's a pimple on the butt of New York City. That's it. Yeah. That's a good analogy there.
No, it's great.
But that's just how it is. So that's why I'm like, we should take bigger events to smaller cities.
The only time college basketball specifically, takes over New York is the old Big East tournaments that were Friday night semifinals. That's when New York was a buzz, and it was all about Madison Square Garden, when you would have like those Friday nights that were like Syracuse and UConn and Georgetown and those amazing games there.
I guess.
Outside of that.
Did they take over New York?
They did.
It was big for us in the Midwest watching them.
It was. Like, that was the one time where New York was a buzz with college basketball. That's it. That's really it. Regionals? No, not really, because you didn't have those local schools and things like that. But yeah, like we said, John Sherman's talking tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning, so we'll see what he's going to discuss.
He's going to open up to Kansas, you think, tomorrow?
I said that in the first hour. Like, imagine if he comes out and says that, well, all spots are available. We're just looking at, you want to talk about taking like 10 steps back from where you think you are right now. This is going to be interesting tomorrow. because I don't know what I'm expecting to hear, but I know he's going to get asked a lot of questions and a lot of follow-ups, and this is one to where, because you're talking about financing in a stadium and not just how a team's being built, you're getting the news media there too. Not just the sports people, you're getting the news people about financing and what's going on with Jackson County and the city and the state and all of that stuff. He's going to have a lot of people asking him questions. You better be ready to go with the answers because, as we've talked about, Mick, packaging and messaging for a stadium is really important. And so far, they haven't done a great job of it.
Maybe Jackson County is like raising the property value on Kauffman Stadium right now, like it is every other homeowner in the county.
Maybe that's what John Sherman's ready to come out and talk about.
500%.
Yes.
Yeah.
I stared at that letter that I got for about 5 or 6 straight minutes going, this can't be right.
You're in Jackson County?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Don't worry, you can sell the house. And
I just need to live in it still, though, is it the issue?
That's the
Were you at the meeting last night? It looked like everybody in the county was there.
I figured those people would probably ask some good questions for me. I had a lot of those, and I figure I'll try to figure that out at some point. But I tell you what, if the Royals do want to try to build a stadium in my neighborhood, apparently my house is worth like $10 billion now.
You actually are trying to get something on the ballot in August to finance your house.
That's right. If I could just get, get a little 3/5 of a cent, maybe there's something to do with the property taxes, I'd really appreciate it. I don't even need a Jumbotron.
I actually do.
That's,
I am holding out for a Jumbotron. We'll take a timeout. We're going to update the ZOUs. We're going to update the Royals.
For baseball?
Yes.
Oh, it's pretty negative, so I'm not going to lose.
We're going to update the Chiefs ZOUs from last year, tell you what they did, and reminisce and have some fun about the fact that I didn't have to buy lunch then. We'll do that coming up next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
If you haven't yet taken the time to check out Green Light Dispensary, they got 4 KC area locations at 130.
This is going to be so stupid, but here we go.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Which one? What'd you say?
Panthers.
Panthers.
One left.
Florida,
One
Carolina.
left, and he kind of gave a clue to it earlier. You're paying attention.
Panthers. I wasn't paying attention. It was an intern talking. What am I paying attention to? I mean,
That's
come
Dylan,
on.
That was Dylan 3 talking
Yeah,
back there.
Dylan. Trey, we call him.
Yeah.
Trade.
Trade.
So it's a hockey.
This one's there's
New
a
York
hockey baseball.
New York hockey.
New York hockey.
Oh, the Rangers.
Rangers.
Texas.
Stupid.
So stupid.
Six. Scuttle 6.
All right, 913-381-810. Let's stump the chumps here. We're trying.
That's a good one. I
tomorrow,
told it
people.
to Curtis the other night on the Sunday Sound Off, and he said he might use it as an end of the hour question, but I haven't been listening. So.
Oh, well, then somebody would have gotten 2 to whatever we were talking about if they were listening to just the answers of not knowing what the question was.
Yeah, we didn't tell you what the other answers were, but no, we got them.
Rough Riders was the 7th.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan.
Weren't there two?
There were 2 Rough Riders.
Rough Riders, yes.
So it was the same league. There's
With
a
only a few
crossover.
teams.
There's a crossover.
Like, really, you couldn't think of another name?
They're just
One was 2 words. Have we covered that?
Oh, okay.
One was
Yeah,
Rough
gotcha.
Riders, one word. One was Rough Space Riders. I think we have room for there to be a Rough Dash Riders, probably too.
Rough hyphen.
Yeah.
Are you FF Riders?
Rough Riders.
Writers. W-R-I-T-E.
Rough Riders. A terrible penmanship.
Anyway, the ones that were in both, we had the football team, which I thought was weird. Gotta have any other. The Kraken.
Blues.
Do you know there's a Frisco Rough Riders? That's their mascot is Teddy Roosevelt. Minor League Baseball is so cool, man.
It is.
Major League Baseball hasn't been really cool to the Royals this year. So let's go through the update on our ZOUs. Our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 categories that we had. So out of a possibility of 10 answers being correct.
Was it Beards? Was he the 4th?
Yep.
Beards was the 4th. That's
in
correct.
peace.
We also had a bonus one. He's still alive, but not with us. We had a bonus one. That's fine. In which we had a question of yes or no. Would there be a long-term deal done this year by the Royals and a player? So that's a bonus one, but, that's whatever. So here are the 10. Greinke wins. We set the over-under at 7.5. He is pacing for... So to carry the
Two?
provide remainder 2. He is pacing for 2 wins on the season.
I'll take the over on 2, I guess.
Josh and Mick took the over on 7.5.
What were we thinking?
I don't know. We were pretty negative.
Beards and I took the under on 7.5. So that's a good start for me. It doesn't get any better. Jordan Lyles ERA. We set that at 4.
Oh boy!
Don't worry, we all took the over.
Okay.
So probably we should have set it at something else. Because right now he's got a 6.7. He's pacing for a 6.7 ERA. Brady Singer ERA. This is where I turn out to be stupid. We set it at 3, and God, I was confident. Wow. Because he had like a sub-3 ERA like the last 15 starts. Like the guy had like a 2.7. Like he's ready to take another step forward. And I'm a dunce. So let's just go ahead and say, let's go under. You 3 were smarter and went over. So right now he's pacing for a 5.8.
Because he has a 5.8.
Correct. He's got a lot of work to do for me to go ahead and steal that point from you guys.
Hey, he did well last night.
Come on, Brady. That's just the start. All he needs is 12 more.
Was he over 6 before last night?
Yeah, he was 6.34 last night, so he lost a half a run.
Bring it down half a run each outing. You'll get there.
What I'm saying is that
he pitched well last night, not well enough to win.
Right, exactly.
I mean, come on.
So, I need 5 more starts.
He has 4 times as many wins as Jordan Lyles.
5 more starts, 6 innings, no earned runs, 5 more times.
The drop each time is going to get smaller incrementally.
I don't believe you.
Make a big math guy all of a sudden. Yeah.
Scott Barlow. Ooh, you
oh boy,
dirty
guys.
dog. Scott Barlow. We set the over under at 19.5. He's pacing for 18.
Oh no!
But with last night's save, he would have been pacing for 20. I'm the only one that went over 19.5 for Barlow. So this is a huge swing point. If he'd have got the save last night, That's no point for you three and a point for me. That would have been fantastic, but it didn't happen, so therefore that's no point for me on a pace right now. You guys went under.
Plus, just the way he looked last night doesn't give
it's
you a
not
whole
good.
lot
No.
second half of the season confidence.
Especially if he's traded to a contender, odds are they're not putting him as a closer.
Where are we at? How many games it hasn't been 81 yet, right?
It's been 79. I decided to do it today, even though I know it would have been 81. But
Friday.
I don't really want to do it
Games
Friday.
on Friday.
Got other things going on, so we got a lot of things going on. We're going to play games. We're going to do Heads Up 7 Up on the radio. Matt Derrick's going to be with
Nick
us.
Twister.
Zach Greinke's going to be in studio for 2 hours.
You bring in Twister next
just
week?
in the back, not saying anything.
Just kind of like this
He'll
human right
He'll
behind
become
us.
Dylan Derrick for just that hour.
Who leads the Royals in starts? I said Trey Lyles. You two said Brady Singer.
I bet you were wrong then. 'Cause
Trey
there's no way
Lyles?
Trey Lyles is leading the team in starts.
Jordan Lyles. Trey Lyles, who
That's it.
somehow we talked about yesterday or the day before.
We got Asa Lacy and Trey Lyles just
back-to-back
days.
I said Jordan Lyles. You guys said Brody Singer. And Beard said Chris Bubich. So Beards is going to lose this one. So don't worry. Beards is the one that is not going to get a point for this, for sure. But
we're going to kidnap him from his new job and just drag him out here to.
I mean, he can
lunch
have it delivered to us.
Okay,
it's fine.
true.
I mean,
point.
it's like if you took part in this.
But wait, if he doesn't want to do that, can we kidnap him then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think
no.
Okay.
Kidnapping is certainly part of this whole thing.
Kidnapping.
Over under on wins. We, for some reason, took Vegas's 69.5 and made it 72.5. Mick and I went over.
God, I'm so dumb.
Beards and Josh went under. They're pacing for 45. So that's going to have to change. They're going to really have to get on their horse right now to change that pace.
Wait. So
45 to 71.
you could triple what they are now, not just double. Triple, and they'd still be the under.
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
Triple.
Sure.
They'd still be way under.
Whatever. Bobby Witt onto the offensive side of the categories. Bobby Witt combined home runs and stolen bases. We set that at 59.5. He is pacing for 72.
Oh boy.
Beards and I went over.
I might be
Josh
losing this.
and Mick went under.
I think we're okay.
Salvi home runs.
God, surely went under.
28.5.
Well, although that's probably.
He's pacing at 31. Oh, shoot. I went over. Everybody else went under.
I might be losing this.
Jason has life again.
Vinny Pasquantino, home runs. We set at 24.5. He's pacing for 9.
That's stay at 9.
That's how many he has. He's pacing for 9. Brisco and Mick went over.
Yeah,
Were we holding hands this entire deal?
For most of it. And we also picked a lot of the same answers.
Yeah, you guys nailed that one, by the way. But
We
you
were right
guys,
in the
you guys
spirit
were
of
pretty.
that.
You were pretty confident. Good for you, being confident in all of that stuff.
Can I read you a quick stat line while you
sure.
fiddle with that?
Yep. There's one more.
From the
But go
Omaha
ahead.
Storm
Stat
Chasers
line.
here. Just Brad Keller's final line from his rehab start today. Third of an inning pitched, 0 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, no strikeouts, 20 pitches, 4 strikes.
A third of an inning pitch?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he got an out in 20 pitches and threw 4 strikes.
Yeah, but that wasn't against 18-year-olds like Alek Manoah. So I mean,
Exactly.
it could be worse.
Definitely.
Last one, MJ Melendez OPS. We set it at a reasonable 750. He's pacing for 635. I'm the only idiot that went over. So you guys went under on the Melendez OPS. Which brings us to the current tally. Out of 10, Beards has 8 so far.
Wow. Seriously?
Only Bubich and Salvi home runs he went under are the only 2 he has not gotten right so far on the current pace. 8 out of
So wait.
8 out of 10.
No kidnapping then? Probably not.
We're gonna have to kidnap him if he doesn't. Well, no, whoever loses just won't have to buy him lunch. That's great.
That's fine.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's very true. I'm okay with losing this now. I only have to buy 2 lunches. It's great. Coming in at 6 apiece.
Oh.
It would be Josh Brisco and me.
Whoa, Mick! Mick was leading for the high five.
Coming in at 5 is Mick Schaefer.
What do I need?
Wow.
Salvi to slow
you
down.
need Salvi to slow down.
But he also, well, that would catch you then.
Yep, you need Salvi to slow down. You need Greinke to win some more games.
I need Barlow to stay under.
Yeah, you need Barlow to definitely stay under. But to catch one where we are different is...
Vinny could come back and hit a few dingers.
Yeah, we are different on that you didn't get a point for. Bobby Witt combined home run, stolen bases, Salvi home runs, and then Pasquantino home runs. So you're not getting a point for that. So Witt slowing down home runs and stolen base clip, which is going to be tough for him to slow down the stolen bases. Salvi home. You need Salvi to stop hitting home runs.
Then
you need to now become.
And then
no, I would lose because I would go to 5. You would go to 6.
True. Yeah.
So I would lose one, and you would.
And or Greinke to just. I mean, has anybody ever won 6 games in the last half of a season? I don't know if that's possible.
I just can't see it happening. No, not at all.
It's not a Royal.
That's the only thing. Yeah, so that's it.
I felt better about it last time.
Actually, you know what?
I was really cocky going into
hold
this.
Hold on. Here's the thing.
So high on the
you know what,
Royals?
Mick?
I think you were in the lead.
Mick, I apologize. Hold on.
Oh,
Hold on.
Holding on.
The bonus question of the long-term deal.
Okay.
Mick said no. You're the only one that said no.
Oh, no.
Oh, that helps.
So you can get a bonus point
Yeah.
if the Royals do not sign somebody to a long-term contract
And
this
at
season.
this point, it would
just bring
Bobby?
it to a.
Who's the best option?
It would bring us to a 3-way tie. We would all have 6, and then Beards would have 8 and win.
We would
so
just go out
we would
and
just
buy
go buy
our
our
meals.
own meals, and we would split it 3
And not
ways for
tell-
the meal for Beards.
Or just not tell him.
You know what?
Be cheaper.
I say we just do that. I say this was a half-season thing the whole time. We didn't go full season. Who does ZOUs for an entire season? No, it's a half season.
Maybe we just each get Beards 1 chicken strip, and we just have it delivered. That way we can cover that.
That's right.
Split the financial burden.
So right now, when you throw in the bonus point, it is 6 for Mick, 6 for Josh, 6 for me.
Nice.
8
This is the devil's
for
game.
Beards. That's right. Well, it's been one devil of a season for the Royals this year, and they keep sinking lower and lower and lower. So all of that goes in common. But, man, we were way off on Singer's ERA. And I was dumb for even going on the other side of that. Greinke wins 7.5. He's got 2. And even he says he doesn't win anymore.
So dumb. We were so confident in the overall under. Why did we have Greinke's wins over?
The Barlow saves, right now it's right on. Like that pace, 18 or 20. And we put it at 19.5. And then Salvi's home runs, 31 as opposed to 28.5. Again, he's 1 less home run away from sitting at like 28. So he's right there. So we got those right.
Should just go negative every time.
Yeah, I mean, really,
like 7
honestly,
or 8 out of 10.
Like honestly, okay, so let's go through a few that just said negative every time. Greinke wins under. There's 1 point. Jordan Lyles ERA under. There's 2 points. Over 4. Singer ERA over. There's 3 points. Scott Barlow saves under. There's 4 points.
4, yeah.
Royals wins under. There's 5 points. Witt combined home runs, stolen bases.
Nope. There you go.
There's one. There's 5.
Positive.
Salvi home runs under. Oop. Again, nothing.
Oh boy.
Pasquantino under.
6.
Nope. Again, no, because. Sorry, under. Yeah. There's 6. MJ Melendez OPS under. So there's 7.
7.
So if you just went negative every time, you'd have 7.
Fine.
You'd have 7.
And you could say no on the long-term deal. Were you counting that one? Or is that 8?
Then that would be 8.
So you could, we could have been tied with Beards.
It'd be 8 if you just went negative Nancy's.
All positive with Chiefs.
Yes.
All negative with the Royals.
That's what I said. I end up buying lunch for the Royals and eating lunch for the Chiefs. Because usually if you're going to be more positive on the Chiefs, you're going to win. Or at least not lose. If you're positive on the Royals, you're a dunce. Hi. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Wrap up the show with Mick Schaefer coming up next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
I love my collection of autographed jerseys, and there's only one place I trust to frame them perfectly. Art and Frame Warehouse at 92nd.
Tomorrow, John Sherman will talk around 9:30. You'll hear that right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Coming up at 5 o'clock today during the program, Todd Lebo, Curtis Seabolt, they'll talk with Dan Tarwater. And that should be an interesting conversation of the ins and outs and intricacies and details about how you're going to get something on the ballot at this time. I mean, part of this that isn't really even being discussed is how they deal with the lease with the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs are not even being brought into this conversation. It's about the city and the county and the state, whether it's Clay or Jackson. And it's like, you know, you're breaking the lease with the Chiefs too, and they're going to want some things that are going to be promised to them if they're going to be completely fine with the Royals breaking this lease. If the Chiefs know, hey, yeah, it's fine, we can agree to those things, but this is going to happen for us eventually, because you know there is a team winning right now.
Yes,
you know,
we're the team.
Yeah,
we're him. We're them. Plural of him.
What if Clark shows up and says, I'm him?
I'm him.
I'm him. Okay, we're winning right now, all right? And he's him, that Patrick Mahomes fella, all right? So we're going to need at least some promises along the way. What do you think we'll hear? If you're guessing, Mick, what do you think we'll hear from John Sherman? Because, again, he's going to have to be on his game and have his talking points ready, because there'll be sports, there'll be news media, they'll be there, and there'll be a lot of follow-ups with whatever he may say here or there about different sites and all that stuff.
It's a good question. I
Thank
think
you.
Yeah,
we'll take a break. Program coming up next.
Yeah, that's why you asked it. I think he'll have to address the Clay County part, right, and how they came in with the great offer and made them, kind of reconsider some things, but we still maintain great contact with Jackson County, and we have good relationships with them, and we really like the East Village location, so we're and it's all going to be BS, right? Because it's like we're just stalling until we can win, and we're certain that it's going to pass on a ballot. That's the real answer. I don't know if we'll get that.
Yeah.
But that's the real answer.
Yeah, and look, I don't know how much people will care on any questions about the current team. And if you can say an owner said this but then did not do something after he said that, would it matter? Because it's an owner. You can't fire an owner. But I do wonder when he's asked about, payroll or this offseason or things that can, because he'll probably say that we'll spend money when we feel like we can go and get somebody soon. We will spend the money. We'll do this. We'll take on payroll. Look, Hunter Dozier, we ate that contract. We'll do those things. I just want him to go on record with that. I want him to be asked about that, to go on record, because J.J. Piccolo's on record of saying this offseason is when we will deal with the organizational structure in the minor leagues of changes that need to be made. There was so much focus on the big league, the manager, the pitching coach. Do we stay with the same hitting coach? These different things. We spent so much time there that we didn't have time to go and address the minor leagues, and there are things we got to do. Okay, so he has said there will be changes this offseason. Okay, well, John Sherman, does that mean adding more coaches, investing more money in the Dominican, investing more money in certain areas of development, because that has to happen? Like, I mean, J.J. Piccolo's on record of saying that. Okay, now we know. Is John Sherman going to be on record of saying, yes, we will spend money here? It won't be something that ultimately he'll have to answer for, because it's not like you can just simply fire him. He'll, as Brisco said, he'll get up there and say the things that he thinks he should say and lie. If he has to lie and go, yeah, we'll spend whatever money it is. If we're going to win, we'll spend that money, whether he really believes that or not. But he's on record with talking about it. And I think there is an element of, if you're trying to get a stadium, you can't really be out there just willy-nilly saying things that are not true. Because if you're saying that about the ballpark, then if you're talking about, or if you're saying that about the ball club, then what you're saying about the ballpark, is that just willy-nilly lying just to sort of get what you want?
I feel like there was 5 months last offseason to get, I feel like they could have got more done than just make some hires at the big league level. I feel like they could have dabbled in the minor leagues and made some decisions there.
Well, I think what he said was there are the assessments of what needs to be done and then actionable items, that those assessments are sort of figured out. This offseason, they can get into the actionable items of what needs to be done.
Championship next year is what you're saying.
That's right. Yeah, yes. Actionable wins along the way. Mick, thank you.
I'm going to do all overs next year's COUs.
I'm doing all unders, I think.
Men, it's summertime. That means getting outdoors, having fun with friends and family, going on vacation, and so much more. It's also the time when we celebrate Men's Health Month